Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to see you here today as we host our second annual Innovators Showcase. So among the group here, we have social innovators, teen advocates, adult allies, donors, and mentors in the audience, to name just a few. This is also the first time our 45 grant winners from 12 teams are meeting each other, thus creating this wonderful collaborative meeting for us all. We invite you to listen carefully to our guest speakers as they share their expertise on the overarching issues of digital overload, social isolation, and loneliness. And then we get to look at some of the positive uses of tech through digital activism and advocacy. We will then hear our teams present their ideas and initiatives to begin to solve these very problems. Our innovators want to test their ideas on each other and you in the audience and receive input. So be thinking of your questions and comments. They'd love your help making connections, opening doors, spreading the word, joining a team, and more. But before we move to this promise of 2021, let's look back at 2020. It's been an exciting year, or at least interesting, to say the least. So a little background for those of you who are just joining LookUp. LookUp was founded in July of 2019 with our official launch in November 2019. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Susan Reynolds, and along with my mother, Ann Reynolds, who's in the audience today, we co-founded LookUp. I've been researching the issue around digital well-being and mental health among youth since 2014, but I'd missed one key component on really solving these issues. I had not turned to Gen Z to ask them, what's your life like in the digital world? What are your pain points? As well as, what are your ideas and initiatives for solutions? Thus, LookUp was founded to discover, develop, and amplify our youth solutions and their voices. And I have to introduce Julia O'Brien, who became our executive director, who has been amazing in helping me bring this vision to life. So soon after we hosted our first grant competition, seeking those very solutions at Dartmouth College through their Magnuson Center for Entrepreneurship, we have added more impact partners. So huge shout out throughout 2020 to University of San Diego, University of Arizona, Chapman University, along with Keiretsu Forum, Porta Novelli, BlackRock, and the Digital Wellness Collective. Now, in September 2020, with the premiere of the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, we joined arms with the Center for Humane Technology and the Impact team from the Social Dilemma to spread our message globally through the Youth for Youth Summit, the largest gathering yet of youth advocates for digital well-being and humane technology. Along with keynotes from Jeff Orlowski, the producer of The Social Dilemma, and Tristan Harris, its key whistleblower, we hosted panels with 50 youth speakers from 8 countries, as well as participants from 38 countries. So by the end of 2020, more than 2,000 youth have mobilized to create a global community of youth advocates for a healthier and more digital world. So how have we done this? We started with the LookUp Challenge, led by our first youth innovator, Juliet Gildehouse, and took it to other schools. We engaged youth participants in our startup competitions on these 4 campuses with our partners, University of Arizona, San Diego, Dartmouth, and Chapman. In April 2020, and now we know the pandemic has started, we moved from an in-person annual Innovator Showcase to online, where we introduced you to 5 fantastic teams, all working on the one issue of digital overload and tech-life balance in a myriad of ways. Soon after receiving their grants, COVID-19 appeared on the scene. And there they were as social entrepreneurs doing the most common thing, pivoting and adapting to this new reality of studying and socializing online, and for many, living at home. But they persevered. We're excited to tell you 3 of these teams are still working on their initiatives, and one member, Ajay Koka, a Dartmouth student from Mumbai, has helped launch LookUp India, a powerful team of bringing LookUp to India. And LookUp UK is in the works. Through our partnerships with Children's Screen Action Network, the Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, Text Less Live More, and SAD, the Students Against Destructive Decisions, we brought LookUp to even more youth, led by youth for youth. And this past summer, the Teen Leadership Council, who created and hosted the Youth for Youth Summit, began. I am now going to introduce you, after I explain a little bit about her, Alexa Gwynn, the chair of the Teen Leadership Council. So Alexa is a senior at Palo Alto High School in the heart of Silicon Valley. And she brings her experiences and youth perspective to LookUp as the chair of the Teen Leadership Council. Through seeing firsthand how technology affects young people, she got involved with Headstream's Youth to Innovator program during quarantine, helping create richer and more meaningful digital experiences for youth. Alexa's other interests include backpacking, surfing, molecular biology, reading, and playing the saxophone, as well as singing in her band. I bring you Alexa.
Thanks, Susan. And hello, everyone. So as Susan mentioned, my name's Alexa Gwynn, and I'm the chair of the Teen Leadership Council. So for any of you who don't know, the Teen Leadership Council is a youth-run group, and together we organize events, we recruit other passionate youth, and we create initiatives, just to name a few. So one of these amazing events that Susan mentioned that we helped to organize was the Youth for Youth Summit. And the Youth for Youth Summit was an incredible event and a really amazing opportunity for all of us to help plan. So Jeff Orlowski, the director of the Social Dilemma, while he was speaking, he was talking about how people always ask him how he can help. And he went on to talk about how you should find your superpower when trying to find your purpose in this issue of digital addiction, social isolation, and the political polarization of our country. And when he said that, that's why I truly realized why I was there planning that summit, because that's my superpower. Connecting others, organizing, advocating, making that first step, learning from others. If I didn't plan the summit, who would? We have to push the movement forward, and we can't let people push it aside. And other youth who had that same mindset created commitments to action. So from the summit, we had many youth-led initiatives and even full-fledged companies come and speak and set up in a booth for questions. So these teen leaders created their own commitments to action that lasted 90 days after the summit. Small steps that would push the movement forward and create change. And I'm happy to report on a few of those. So Live More, Screen Less created a journaling project about their technology or social media usage to see if there was any connection to show how their mood or mental health changed that week. It helped all of them become more aware and intentional and change their mindset and their habits when using technology. Log Off Movement, a full-fledged company, launched their Spectrum Talks with conversation guides that can be used in small groups and dinner tables. So these Spectrum Talks are sparking conversations about the multifaceted nature of the digital world, which is really cool. And as for me, I'm currently organizing a photo shoot that depicts both the harmful, addictive, polarizing side of technology and the creative, beautiful, and empowering digital spaces that some companies have been creating, like LookUp. It seeks to bring investors to the companies that are trying to make an impact. And in the spirit of LookUp, obviously the shoot is totally youth run with youth photographers. I'm one of them, youth designers, youth makeup artists, youth stylists, and of course, youth models. So we invite you to create your own commitments to action and share them with the Teen Leadership Council and LookUp, because we welcome and support them all. Back to you, Susan.
Great, thank you, Alexa. So you can see here, right? I mean, you're going to hear all of these amazing youth, which makes our job as adult allies so exciting. So we're just getting started, right? And we expect our LookUp's Action Network to soon be the central hub for this youth by youth, for this by youth for youth movement, but we need our adult allies. So if you have not already joined the LookUp Action Network, we invite you, and Julie will put that link right there in the chat. So again, just to remind you why we're all here. If you're one of our social innovators, you're here to meet each other and listen. And if you're in the audience as a youth advocate, teen council member, mentor, donor, adult ally, remember we want your input. So as they're speaking, think of your questions, pop them in the Q&A, pop them in the chat, and you can open doors and spread the word. So let's meet our 2021 innovators. Julie, did you want to jump in with anything?
Yeah, I just, so hi everyone. Thanks for patience while we were getting the chat and everything lined up for you. Just a few housekeeping guidelines, I won't call them rules. But the way the flow is going to go, which we're very excited, we have three amazing guest speakers, Susan, Bob Wigley, and Julia Hophook. And they will, in each session, they're going to outline and frame the problem as they've seen it as professionals and passionate adult allies and advocates around this cause. We'll then show you, we've put together a video of each of the team's pitch videos. So because we didn't have enough time to have everyone do individual pitches, so they've been awesome and created these short pitch videos that will give you an idea of what their solution to the problem will be. And then from there, each of the guest speakers are going to facilitate a roundtable discussion with our social innovators. That's what we call the winners of our grant competition. And they will have a candid conversation around the issues and the way they see it. And then we will open it up for some Q&A. What we'll do, please, there's a Q&A, because this is a webinar, we have that wonderful Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to type your questions in there. Please don't use the chat because it makes it just more complicated for us to find your questions in the chat. Use Q&A for the questions. But speaking of the chat, now that we figured out how to turn it on for everybody, talk away on the sidelines, because that's really fun too. Like if somebody says something that really blew you away, you know, talk about it in the chat, and because we love to have the conversation going on the side with all of you. This is not just for you to sit and watch, this is for you to participate as well. So and then at the end, our brand new board member, Diana Angelini, she's a rock star as well. Some of you may have met her at our Youth for You Summit. She will wrap up what her key takeaways were from the day. So have fun, enjoy, get involved, and turning it back to Susan.
Great, thanks, Julie. So we begin today with digital overload and digital addiction, and we are very fortunate to have Bob Wigley lead us off. So Bob is chairman of UK Finance, where he represents the UK banking and finance sector with HM government and regulators. He spent 25 years in the banking industry, latterly as the chairman of Merrill Lynch for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and is a court member of the Bank of England during the global financial crisis. He backs growth businesses and aims to meet a new generation's entrepreneur every weekday. Listen to that, entrepreneurs, our social innovators. He loves to learn from others about new technology and business ideas, and recently wrote a book about the effect of technology on Generation Z, Born Digital, the story of a distracted generation. So it's available at robertwigley.uk, or if outside the UK, on Book Dispensary, and it will be on Amazon. So Julie is going to put that link in the box, and I turn it over to you, Bob, to take it away.
Can you hear me okay? Good. Okay, well, listen, Susan, thank you so much for that very generous introduction, and hello to all of you. This is such an exciting event to be part of. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I think we all agree that society is distracted and that our attention has been hijacked by what we call a tsunami of devices, or as I call them, weapons of mass distraction. And we know from the Center for Humane Technology, who worked with Netflix to produce that wonderful film that we've all watched, that they list a whole range of harms that are caused by technology, including poor mental and physical well-being, stunted empathy development, and ultimately risk to democracy itself. And I think that you and my children all deserve better. And the reason that I've written this book is because I want to give you all, with your enthusiasm, your sense of entrepreneurship, and your zest for life, the provocation and the tools to lead a reset of our relationship with technology. And I was struck in the Social Dilemma, as I'm sure you were, by one of the things that Tristan Harris said, which was that there's a point just before, there's a point where tech overpowers human weakness, which I think we've reached, but that point is just before the point at which technology overpowers humans themselves. And he says if we go past that point, it's checkmate on humanity. So it's up to all of us, I think, to address the issue. Let's just review some basics. So 90% of Generation Z, Gen Z, I'm going to call it in American, I think, have a phone, use social media, they indulge in instant messaging, and of course, watch video. We all know that we use multiple devices simultaneously. The average person, as you probably know, checks their phone nearly 50 times a day. 61% of people sleep with their telephone. 85% have no problem using it while talking to a friend. It has, in effect, become part of our hand, a prosthetic. And the average online time for Gen Z is the highest ever at over 7 hours a day. That is, just to put it in context, more time than we spend sleeping and much more time than we spend studying. Now, as between the genders, there is a little bit of difference. So I guess video gaming is a little more of an issue for boys, social media probably on balance more so for girls. But interestingly, if we just focus on video gaming for a minute, if you look at the statistics for 18 to 25-year-olds, 15% say that they have missed work because of video gaming. 39% have missed a meal. 52% have missed sleep. I'm going to come back to sleep later because it's a big part of my study. The other thing we know is that children are getting devices younger and younger, and they're spending more time on them. So staggeringly, 29% of babies under 1 now watch 90 minutes of screen time a day. And 64% of 1 to 2-year-olds watch more than 2 hours. Those are absolutely staggering statistics as a parent. 42% of under 8s now have their own tablet. And we also know from surveys that more than half of teenagers feel addicted to their devices. Now, one of the issues with using a mobile, a smartphone, is that it gives us access to pretty much everything on the internet. And what we know is that 93% of 12 to 15-year-olds regularly use a smartphone. And that means that they have access to age-inappropriate content. Just to go to the worst end of that, 20% of primary school children, that's first school children, and 30% of secondary school children say in surveys that they have videoed online and that 5% of them have been asked to undress. We know 1/3 of teens have been cyberbullied. What do we mean by that? Well, we mean received unwanted text, been harassed, stalked, have had insulting or embarrassing pictures sent to them, or been engaged in unpleasant gossip. I mentioned that we spend more time on devices than sleeping.
엄마는 그냥 게스트야. 엄마 얼굴은 보여. 너는 안 해? 나는 이따가
Can you please mute yourself?
Someone needs to go on mute. I don't know who that is. Just focusing on sleep for a minute. Interestingly, we spend more time on our devices than sleeping. And we also know, don't we, that our late night use is prevalent. It's one of the times we're most regularly on our smartphones is just before we go to sleep. And that's a big problem. The World Health Organization, obviously very much in the news at the moment because of COVID, says that we have a global sleep loss epidemic. And the University of Michigan describes it as a global sleep crisis. And 60% of Gen Z report getting inadequate sleep. 40% say they regularly drive drowsy. and 52% of 18 to 25-year-olds miss sleep due to gaming. There's a great report in the UK from a big children's charity called Global Action Plan, which has studied the effect of social media on Gen Z. And it says that social media encourages the pursuit of junk values, what it calls junk values. What does it mean by that? Well, what it means is that social media is programmed to encourage us to pursue what they call extrinsic goals. That means things like looking better or making money, rather than the things that are really important in life. So we would say intrinsic goals, like having better friendships. That's just the way social media is programmed to work. But doesn't tech facilitate connectedness? Doesn't it facilitate us all having loads of connections? Well, before the COVID epidemic even, loneliness had reached literally epidemic levels. 48% of Generation Z surveyed said they were lonely. 60% said they felt shy and isolated. And in the UK, last year, 132,000 10 to 15-year-olds said they had no close friends as a result of their social media use. And in America, 13% of US Gen Z suffer clinically diagnosable social anxiety. That is the third largest US mental health issue. So I guess we've all concluded that we need to learn more about how to control our use of the internet and social media. As Matt Haig said in his book recently, it's not that we have insufficient time, it's that we have an overload of everything else. And of course, the big tech companies admit openly that they use our neurological processes to addict us. Addict us is a word that they would argue with. Let's come back to the word addiction in a minute. But what they do is they harness the dopamine in our brains to capture our attention. And the scientists argue at length, is this addiction? Is it compulsive use or is it just overuse? Frankly, I don't care much. If we have the amount of time that we're all spending on these devices doing what we're doing, we have a problem. We know that. We don't need to argue about the definition of whether it's addiction or not. We also know, and I guess most of us think that our teachers are on balance pretty wise, that 90% of them surveyed say that the internet is creating a distracted generation. So I'm going to sort of sum up in a minute. We know that technology causes harms. It causes harms to our attention. It causes issues with our mental and physical health. It causes sleep issues. It causes issues with relationships, troubled relationships. I think it's a threat to our democracy, and it's overall definitely a threat to our children. We also know the public increasingly say in surveys that they are worried about the effects of the internet and regularly have bad experiences online. The question, though, fundamentally is, can we just self-regulate better? And the answer to that is, I don't think so, because as the social dilemma so brilliantly demonstrated, we have an army of the world's best neuroscientists, the other side of the screen, trying to make us stay on that screen for as long as possible in the interest of the profits of the big tech companies. And the truth is that this technology is so fundamental to our lives and the way we live and the way we shop, the way we get our news, that striking and boycotting devices, whilst we can do it for a short period, is not a realistic solution for any kind of length of time. So what is the answer? Well, the answer is probably overall responsible internet use and what I call digital citizenship. We need to learn to be more disciplined about the way we use the internet. And that means a whole range of things, which I talk about in the book, turning off our notifications, managing the way we use our phones, not taking the phone to the bedroom. In fact, with a bit of luck, not looking at it for the hour before we go to sleep. Some of you are sort of gasping that that's kind of ridiculously impossible, but that's really crucial. Just being aware of how much time we're spending on our phone and what we're doing with it. On the other side of the equation, we can focus on some good things like mindfulness, mindful listening, yoga, Pilates, meditation, do some positive things that distract us from constantly looking at our phones. But ultimately, do we really have that self-discipline? Or in fact, do we not need some regulation? Now, what I'm going to stop talking now because I've been talking for long enough, but the concept here really in the book is how I can help you be more disciplined, how I can help parents to think about helping their children to be more disciplined, how the companies themselves should be self-regulating themselves. But fundamentally, my recommendations are around what governments need to do and the United Nations need to do to regulate these big tech companies so that they are forced to take into account the harms that their apps and their platforms cause us, and that they're forced to take actions to mitigate those harms so that these companies start working in the interest of society as a whole, not in the interest purely of their profit and loss accounts. I'll stop there. Susan.
Actually, this is Julie. So I'm going to thank you, Bob. Stay tuned. We are going to show you the pitch videos now. So I'll please be patient while I share my screen. You're about to see 4 pitch videos from Outdoors Yours from Dartmouth College. Mine is from University of Miami. No Social Media in November from the University of Colorado at Boulder. And then Unpluggers, which is out of Chapman University. So hang on quickly.
Hello, this is my name is James Bell. This is my product, Outdoors Yours. So currently the problem is there are a lot of outdoor spaces that go underutilized, such as yards, fire pits, docks, and other areas, especially in New Hampshire. And current home rental models require renting the entire for access to these outdoor spaces, which means that it's a higher price point and inaccessible to individuals aged 18 to 30 years old that don't have as much disposable income. Third, COVID-19 has increased the desire for private outdoor spaces and for gathering with friends and family and
all right, folks, I believe we're having some technical difficulty. 1 second, please. I understand the screen is frozen, so we are going to try that again. Sorry. This is when I need Sam here.
Hello, this is my name is James Bell, and this is my product, Outdoors Yours. So currently the problem is there are a lot of outdoor spaces that go underutilized, such as yards, fire pits, docks, and other areas, especially in New Hampshire. And current home rental models require renting the entire house for access to these outdoor spaces, which means that it's a higher price point and inaccessible to individuals aged 18 to 30 years old that don't have as much disposable income. Third, COVID-19 has increased the desire for private outdoor spaces and for gathering with friends and family and for other forms of passive incomes for the hosts. So the solution is to create a two-sided marketplace that allows exclusively for outdoor rental spaces. So this would be done on a flexible basis, so on an hourly, nightly, or daily basis, or per person, at a low price point and separate from the home rental. So currently, this is the product I have in place and the website. I use a provider, two-sided marketplace provider called ShareTribe, and it's been great. As you can see, this is the MVP, and it doesn't have all the nitty-gritty details, but it does have the necessary parts to put in place a cross-country ski trail pass for a day, or renting someone's place for an RV site or other outdoor fire pit, as one can see. This is just an example of what you would see, and there'd be more of a description below and pictures. So the business model is a 10% transaction fee to start on the renter side. And then the second stage, once there's strong transaction flow, it'd be a sliding fee structure and 3% transaction fee for the host or landholders. So the competitive landscape, I won't go through all of these, but there are competitors. The most direct competitor would be HipCamp, and they do a lot of things well, but I would highlight two pieces. One is we have a lower fee structure in general, and then the insurance is huge and something that I'm very close to solidifying and would provide a huge advantage over HipCamp's current model and actually even Airbnb. And so the market adoption timeline, I have started rolling this out as I presented a moment ago. I do have a website up, and I'm currently in the process of onboarding customers. And once the insurance comes through from a company called Superhog in England, I believe that this should be much easier to onboard new owners. So this is my product in 3 minutes. Outdoors yours, and I'm excited to get feedback and answer any questions when I can. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a UX UI designer, social media enthusiast and manager, and the founder of Mine, which I am overjoyed to discuss today. Mine is a personal social media analytics tool, and it aims to address this problem of mental health concerns that we're seeing among our youth, in part due to social media usage. For many, the narrative around social media is that it is a land of Nicolas Cage memes and cute cat videos, but unfortunately this doesn't reflect the reality. What we see today is an environment in which attention is the goal at all costs, and so data and behavior are used against our youth and all of us, quite frankly, but particularly among this age group, we're seeing issues of depression, anxiety, social comparison, FOMO, addiction, etc. skyrocket. This is unacceptable, and often the solution seems simple: ditch the social media. But at the same time, there's this public square component to social media that makes it so attractive to our teens and actually have genuine benefits for their lives. So teens face a choice: either risk your social circle or risk your mental health. I say, why choose either? That's where Mine comes in. Mine, as stated, is a personal social media analytics tool. How Mine works is that you're going to log in and connect a social media account of choice. From there, Mine will glean important data points around things such as your interests, the sorts of things you're spending the most time on, your big 5 personality traits as noted by your behavior on the app, your mood as self-reported, among other information. This information is valuable because we also have this goal setting component in which you can choose customized goals for your social media life. And from there, we can hold you accountable with measured growth and change through the data points. And of course, there's this additional layer of self-discovery. We have a recommended page in which you are able to look at potentially new interests, hobbies, accounts, etc., to build out your life not only socially within these apps online, but also in the real world. This is a self-discovery ambition that we have within this app. So that's pretty much it. Right now we're in the prototype stage. We're looking to grow our tech expertise on the team. We have design for my part, and my brother handles the business side, but we're lacking in the tech side. Additionally, we would love to have a mentorship opportunity and really connect with seasoned experts in this field as we are still new here. And finally, I am interested in a community element. I believe in the value of connecting with like-minded individuals working on this problem so that we can really build out something that is sustainable and improves upon the current social media atmosphere. The end goal is really to nourish digital identity and connection online. Are you in?
Hello, my name is Maddie Freeman, and welcome to my No Social Media November Challenge presentation. The problem that this challenge addresses is the immense addiction faced by our youth and the way that this impacts their mental health in a negative way. That, and just simply the fact that millions of teenagers are wasting away hours a day glued to a screen when they could be participating in healthier activities. The reason I am here today is because of how much these mental health issues have impacted my life. Through my 4 years of high school and 1 year in college, 4 close friends of mine and 7 other acquaintances have taken their lives or died from drug abuse problems. I have seen each and every one of these people struggle with mental health, and almost every death was a suicide, which has been so hard for me to come to terms with. The scary thing is that I saw the way that social media played a role in all their lives, so that's why I'm trying to make a change. Now that we've gone through all the heavy stuff and you can see where all of my passion comes from, I would love to tell you about this challenge. The No Social Media November Challenge is a short video aimed to be shown in high schools across the country to spread awareness and an optional way to find realizations about one's own usage. It is a challenge to log off all social media in the month of November to show teenagers just how much it impacts their mental health, all the opened up time they'll now have to spend on alternative healthy activities, and how dependent they truly are on these apps. There are 3 levels of participation so that anyone can join in. Facts and a simple introduction to the issues that social media causes, it provides a really good segue into having conversations and spreading the message. For the past year, I have been collaborating with my old school district to help come up with and implement new mental health resources that weren't present when I was there. This challenge was actually one that I came up with in October of 2020 that we actually got to do a trial run of in a small school. It went extremely well and it got incredible reviews, with people deciding to permanently delete their accounts once the month was up. The growth and wellness that can be seen in just the short span of a month is mind-boggling. This challenge is unique in 2 big ways. First of all, the way this challenge is designed is to change habits only for a little while, and then at the end of the tunnel you have the choice to go back to your old ways. This is powerful because in most cases, people actually end up changing their social media presences in a huge way, even if they didn't intend to at the beginning of the challenge. It's also not just saying, quit social media now forever. It's just give this a mindful try and see how you feel, with a guided framework to follow. It is also unique in the sense that even if the students watch my video and don't participate, they still gain knowledge about mental health, social media addictions, and how to come up with healthy coping mechanisms. In this way, my video serves as an educational tool and also as a fun challenge to optionally participate in. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for everyone listening. I truly appreciate it.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jasmine, and I'm a part of the Unpluggers team. Our goal in joining the LookUp Leadership Lab is to combat the increase in unhealthy dependence on social media and technologies. Unpluggers focuses on community and team-based challenges to build healthy habits through teams and competition. Unlike other social media campaigns that are designed to merely reduce usage, Unpluggers provides a variety of challenges that are doable and tangible for participants. These challenges will take you out of your comfort zone, help you grow, and most importantly, improve your everyday life and mental health. The various challenges led by each of our team leaders are backed by scientific research about social media and how it affects people's mental health and well-being. Now, I'd like to have my team members introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about the challenges you can be a part of.
Hi, my name is Lauren. My team will be focusing on monitoring the amount of time we spend on social media per day. If we take a look at your screen time on your phone, you might find yourself a little bit surprised at the amount of time you spend on social media without being aware of it. Some social media can be good and beneficial, but being unaware, mindless, and unintentional about your habits can have some detrimental effects. Therefore, in this challenge, we will be limiting social media usage to 4 hours per day. This may not seem like a huge challenge, but you'd be surprised by how much your mental health improves and how much more present you will be in your everyday life.
Hi everyone, my name is Nellie and my team will be focusing on cutting out social media usage on Saturdays. This will act as a rest for your week, and this is a really powerful resting period and will help you practice self-control. As we know, social media can be really time-consuming, and the weekends are a time to relax and de-stress from the world. So we encourage going out into nature, probably taking a walk or reading a book. Do something new that your body will thank you for besides being plugged into your phone 24/7.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I'm a proud member of the Unpluggers movement. If you're interested in joining my team, you can take on a challenge that allows you to be a more active user online. Active use is far better than passive use because it keeps you stimulated and allows you to follow accounts that really benefit your lifestyle. My team doesn't necessarily seek to make you delete or take away any of your social media accounts. Instead, we want to help you use them for good.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, and if you're interested in joining my team, my challenge for you is to delete one of your social media apps altogether. This is great because it gives you some time to reflect on which apps you may not need after all and that you can really live without. Gives you more time to enjoy your life and also makes your social media usage on the other apps much more meaningful.
Lastly, if you'd like to join my team, you'll be challenged to unfollow negative influences on your social media accounts. When it comes to evaluating the content you're consuming, it is so important to make sure your social media feed is having a positive impact on your life, and we're here to help. With these teams, our goal is to show how impactful a focus on collaboration can be. We came to this project as a group of communication scholars wanting to understand the best way to encourage people to get offline. We know now that the process of unplugging is a difficult one, and we want to support young people by providing them with fortitude and the camaraderie of group membership. We hope that you agree and are as excited as we are to continue putting our efforts towards this goal. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing from other teams and the rest of the LookUp community today.
Thank you. Bob, you're back. And if the rest of the teams can please, the other panelists for this group. This is C++ course. Sorry about that. Here we go. Yes, so if the team from mine, Outdoors Yours, and Unpluggers, and No Social Media November, if you could join us on screen, we'll get this nice round table going. And thank you to all. I'm going to see if I can hide the I'm going to mute right now. And
I'll kick off then, shall I, Julie? Can everyone hear me okay? Great. So first of all, 4 brilliant ideas. I love them all in different ways. And of course, that third one was so moving. I'm going to go around, if I may, just one by one and ask a couple of questions, and then we'll throw it open to the floor for some questions from our viewers. So first of all, James, if you're on, what I think it's a great idea. It appeals to something I write about in the book. One of the chapters of the book looks at the value system that I think underlies Gen Z's thinking. And a couple of the trends that you do very much are the concept of rent, not buy. You know, my generation always wanted to buy assets. Gen Z wants to rent an asset or an experience as briefly as is consistent with using that asset for what it wants, and to have minimal commitment thereafter. That's kind of the basis of the sharing economy. So what gave you the idea is the first question.
Hi, I'm James. Well, first of all, sorry about the lag in that video with the voice, but the idea came actually from Dartmouth's like 3-day startup event, and they had an event, and it was we came together and we were addressing this idea of people really being stuck in their dorms in like such a beautiful area, and as you know, Hanover, New Hampshire, and how we can get them out but do it safely. And so the idea is slightly evolved because we were thinking about doing backyards in cities, and then we decided to start small, local to college. And so yeah, we're rolling it out. It's a slow but learning. It's a good process. So hopefully we'll get a big platform one day.
Cool. I'm absolutely sure that idea can be made into a business, and of course it's a business with a good purpose. So the question, I think the second question for me is, what do you need? What do you need? Where do you need help? What are you looking for that anybody in this group might be able to offer other than custom?
Yeah, so definitely the customers, but the marketing side is where I could use a lot of help. I've tried to learn a lot of this stuff myself and how to onboard the properties, but it's a tricky process, and I just don't have the expertise as a college student, and having not really worked at a marketing or any sort of firm like that, and could definitely use that kind of help if someone wants.
Right. So if there's anybody amongst our viewers who is associated with LookUp and has marketing expertise, maybe they could contact James and see if they can offer help. I'm going to give you one bit of advice. If you're actually trying to build a business, a lot of digital businesses fail because they try and grow the organic side of the consumer side of their marketplace organically. They try and use social media to acquire customers. And to do that, you spend money, right? And that gives you a cost per acquisition, as we call it, a cost per acquisition of each customer. And unfortunately, what you often find is that it costs you so much to acquire a customer that you can't make enough profit from that customer during the time that they stay with your business for you to ultimately have a business. So the lifetime EBITDA of a customer needs to exceed the cost per acquisition. So the best way to quickly acquire your customer base without paying for it is to partner with someone who's already got it. So my advice is go to someone else who's got the customers you need for some other reason, for whom you could provide some incremental revenue, but not pay them the full cost per acquisition of organically acquiring your own customer base. I'll stop there because it's all getting a bit technical, but we can talk about it more offline if you like. Let's move to the second one. So that was, I think it's Maddie, right? Hi, Maddie.
Hi, how are you?
So you also, I think, pick up on a trend I talk about in the book a lot, which is this trend of hyper-personalization. The one thing that absolutely fundamentally defines Gen Z is that you want to be your own people and you want to define yourselves, and you use the internet to do that. And so, in a way, your app appeals to that core kind of item. And there's a little bit of the sort of celebrification thing in there as well. So just tell me, how did you get your idea? What made you come up with this particular idea?
I think it came from, like you were saying, this idea of, first of all, understanding the strength of using data for users. In my experience, I tried the private browser DuckDuckGo and found it immensely frustrating because there is a real benefit to an algorithm understanding you. And so the goal of mine is to use that instead of against us, rather for us. And then additionally, I actually have experience like doing social media marketing stuff, and there's so much analytics that we have access to, and I thought it could be valuable if used in the proper context.
Brilliant. Well, completely spot on. Well done. Now, what do you need to develop your idea to fruition? What's the next step? What do you need from this group?
Yeah, so we were actually just seeking developers, and we've met with people, and hopefully that will be moving forward. But additionally, general mentorship around next steps, people with experience really taking an app from a concept to fully fleshed out design, and then bringing something to the app store. Like those technicalities are things I lack experience with.
Okay, so I'm sure there are going to be lots of people on this call who like to build apps. And again, one quick bit of free advice is, again, a lot of people fail in their business ideas because they pay too much money to develop the app. Out there, you will find people who are prepared to develop apps by taking a little bit of equity in your company instead of cash. That might just be the difference between success and failure. So that's a little kernel of an idea there for you. But hopefully we're going to have some offers from people on the call who either have built their own business already and are experienced app developers or know someone who is. So let's move to the next one, which I think was Maddie, was it? Is that right? And no social media. I know how you got the idea. I mean, this is terrible. My son actually also lost someone for the same issue, and it's something we really need to focus on as a society. So tell me, I think that is the second question for you, really, Maddie. Well, what do you need to develop this idea to fruition? What can anybody on this group do to help you?
Yeah, so my idea kind of has two big areas it would be cool to get help with. I think the first one is kind of professionalizing the challenge, because I already created a video on YouTube to show to schools, which is what we did at my old school district. But I would kind of like to create more of a professional looking video. Like I just filmed it on my phone in like my basement, so like it wasn't very professional looking. So I'd like to kind of create a real video that looks like it was made by I don't know, like it looks professional. And then my other side of it is also kind of marketing. I would like to kind of turn it into a national campaign or something of that sort, so we could try to get it to be similar to something like Sources of Strength that would easily be put in schools and could be adopted by schools across the country without necessarily having me go to these individual schools and ask them if they'd like to be a part of the challenge. You know what I mean? So kind of finding avenues to just get the word out there to schools that this is an optional thing that they could pretty easily adopt into their schools every year. So yeah, those are kind of my main two things.
Okay, so there are available some very inexpensive video making software products that enable you to make something that looks like Fox News, but is actually also still done on your telephone, or probably better an iPad in your basement. But and I won't go into it here, but offline we can talk about how I might be able to help you, introduce you to one or two of those ideas to help you make that. But I'm sure also on this webinar there will be students who are studying media studies and are love making videos. So maybe someone could get on here and offer to help you, because I'm sure there are creative, fantastic video makers on this webinar. Let's see who comes up. There you go. Someone's asking for your email already, so hopefully they're going to offer to help. Good. Let's move to unpluggers, and I think, is it Jasmine that speaks for unpluggers? So yeah, so this is actually the subject of a book which you may have read, which is on my shelf behind me. This is one of the books I read before I wrote my own, but which is called 10 Reasons to Delete Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. It's a great book. You should all read it. It's not realistically expecting that you're going to do that permanently, but it's kind of your idea that maybe we should do it periodically, because it'll teach us about what the internet is doing to us and all the things that we can do when we're not on the internet. So it's pretty obvious what gave you the idea, so I don't need to ask that, I guess. But so what do you need? What help do you need to take your idea forward?
Well, our group has specifically wanted to focus on building community and offering mentorship. And so our main priority at this point is accessibility. One of the reasons that we wanted to create this whole movement is a lot of us have younger siblings who are in that like 12 to 15-year-old range, who really need that mentorship and that support from people who can be like big sisters or big brothers to them. So we're trying to integrate this movement into public education or just into youth groups, but we're having trouble getting that accessibility right now.
Okay, so hopefully again there'll be people on here who can help. I'm just watching some of the chat going on in the chat function. There are some offers of help coming in, some of the previous ones. So hopefully if you keep an eye on that, we might have some offers of help for you as well, Caitlin, and your unpluggers ideas. So I got a couple of questions from the audience. You're a very shy audience. We need more questions. I've only got 2 so far, so let's see a few more. But the first one is from Benno Chapman, who says to James, just to be clear, are you looking to market to property owners or individual users? I'm guessing the answer to that is both. You have, I think, here a classic two-sided market exchange. On one hand, the people with the assets, the property owners, and on the other hand, the consumers who might want to take them for an hour or two here to use them. Is that right, James?
Yeah, that is right. So it's a two-sided marketplace, and right now I'm focusing on getting the properties, so like the supply, before I focus on the customers.
Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Benno. Nelson McMillan asks Maddie Freeman, he says, well done on your video, by the way. Could you take a moment to outline what your early thoughts are on a business model? Maddie, you there?
Hi, sorry, my internet was unstable. I'm here.
Yeah, the question was, can you tell us exactly what your business model is, briefly?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so my business model, it's kind of just, so once I create the video and it's more professional looking, it's the way it would be shown to students is basically right at either like in October or at the beginning of November, they would show this video to students, which it's only like 10 minutes long. And it basically explains, it educates the students on just like kind of things that the social dilemma talked about, and like the ways that social media can affect your mental health and the ways that addiction can play into that and all these different things. And then it challenges students to choose one of the options of participation so that they can participate in the challenge for the month of November. And so then by showing this to students, it takes just a very small fraction out of their day, and then could create this whole movement within the school. And it's a really cool thing that we actually already tried, like I said, and it worked really well. So yeah, basically just sitting them down maybe during a class or an advisory period and just playing the video for them is basically all it is.
Brilliant. Okay. well, hopefully that answers that question. Lena, let's just send a question in for anyone. How long did it take from developing an app website to actually having it user-friendly ready? So that's a question for anyone. The answer to that, I think, is really how much money and how much resource you throw at it. You can actually do it incredibly quickly, like in a month, where you can spend the whole life of the business constantly improving it. Does anybody want to have a go at answering that, who's maybe in one of the other 3 groups that are on here that's already developed an app? Is there anybody amongst this group who's already developed an app, can just talk about their experience of how long it took?
I don't have an app, but I have a website, and I use a company called Share Tribe, and it took about a month. And I don't have any coding experience, and so you can definitely do it. But it was fun to learn.
So thank you for that. We're going to go now. A question from Alma to Unpluggers. Have you considered partnering with different youth groups to initially localize your campaign? Someone from Unpluggers Caitlin, do you want to take that one?
I will, yeah. So we definitely have considered working with different youth groups. Our problem at this point is more so that group membership among Gen Z is really lacking. And the only place we've really found a lot of like community is in religious groups. And we've been very hesitant to tie this to a specific religious affiliation. So that's kind of our exact issue right now, is we want to almost build this into a youth group of itself, because we're hopeful that like if we have group membership, then people will want to partner together and like unplug together. But right now we're not certain which youth group is the best avenue for that.
Just go back to what you said at the beginning, because I didn't quite understand that. You said you find Gen Z does not do, what does it not do, did you say?
We've seen a lack of like group membership amongst Gen Z. So like they're not signing up for, obviously right now there's, that's kind of negated by COVID, which also definitely plays into it. But like they're not signing up for the same extracurricular activities. They're not having the same level of involvement or making the same community connections.
That is interesting. I guess that's a function of being locked down and us all spending even more time on our screens, which is a worry. Question for mine from Katie, the last one, and then we'll have to wrap up. What is your user adoption strategy, and are you planning to monetize the app? That's from Katie to mine. Who would like to?
Yeah. So we're thinking that we will do a digital marketing campaign and really speak with influencers who are involved in like digital wellness, use them to speak to this issue and attract people who are genuinely interested. In terms of monetization, we're obviously nowhere close to that. And if it were to happen, we would look very carefully at ways to do that ethically, because it's obviously involving a lot of data. So we cannot, I don't think we're at a point to really give you an answer, but it would definitely involve a lot of thinking.
Brilliant. Okay, I've got to wrap up because my time is up. But I just want to read out one comment from Kathy Holmes. She says, all of these concepts are brilliant, but it also takes a great deal of work and commitment to bring it to fruition. How do you keep yourself motivated to stay on track and not abandon your idea? Well, I'll just say one thing. I met 200 young entrepreneurs in the course of writing my book. And the one thing I know, because I work with entrepreneurs in every aspect of my life pretty much, is that what defines an entrepreneur is almost clinical obsession with the thing that they want to do. And so the answer to your question is, how do you keep yourself motivated? It's part of the core DNA of an entrepreneur that they have an idea and they're going to prove to the rest of the world they can do it. And that is almost what singles you out as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to stop there and hand back to Julie, who's very kindly put up, again, a link to my website. But please do join me there, and I'll send you more information as this whole project develops. Or connect with me on LinkedIn as you prefer. Either is good. Thanks very much indeed for having me, Susan. And thank you for all these brilliant ideas, and keep it up, because we have to win this. We have to win this battle.
You got it. So, wow, right? What a way to start our meeting. And I'm just so appreciative, Bob, of your wonderful advice and sharing. And our first group of innovators, here we go. And absolutely, don't give up, right? So now we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back at, well, I'll just say 06 because we are coming from so many time zones. But take a break, stretch, get a glass of water, and we'll see you back here in 5 minutes. So now we're going to move into another issue, social isolation and loneliness. And what's so great about Bob going first is you have this whole handful of data and facts, and all of these in many ways lead into our next issue. So again, teams here, we have 5 teams on this, really zeroing in on how to reduce the social isolation and loneliness, not only on college campuses, but among all youth. So again, think about how we're overlapping here to create opportunities for Gen Z to feel more connected and less lonely, both virtually and in the real world. So the key thing to know is this issue with social isolation and loneliness did not start with the pandemic. Historically, humans have sought human connection through families, tribes, and communities in person. Group, we're pack animals. So it's an instinctive need for being human, and to be isolated or cast out actually creates physical and mental health symptoms, which we're seeing now. And for youth, the epidemic of loneliness and social isolation and anxiety did not start with the pandemic, was building among all ages much before that. In particular, though, we're here to talk about Gen Z. So in 2018, Gen Z was acknowledged as the loneliest generation. Social isolation and loneliness became recognized as a public health issue. Loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking. 15 cigarettes a day, making it even more dangerous than obesity. In 2014, Yale professor William Dershowitz claimed college students are so stressed out, overpressured, they exhibit toxic levels of fear, anxiety, depression, emptiness, aimlessness, and isolation. The issue is this escalating mental health crisis 7 years ago has only gotten worse. And this was even before the pandemic. So it's really important in talking about this, our solutions deal with the pandemic, but also what's coming after. So why? Well, one thought is with the proliferation of social media, with the entrance of Instagram, Snapchat, and the like button in 2010, the thought was, how is this contributing? And again, with this issue, the important point to make here is that while social media and technology contribute to this mental health crisis, research shows the data to be correlative, not causative, but amplifying many aspects. A generalization from Jean Twenge, a top scholar on Gen Z, was that it was the more time spent on social media, the greater the risk for depression, anxiety, and loneliness. Very, very, very generalization, and there's all sorts of intricacies in this that I'll talk about. It's not all black and white. Another recent study found that higher social media use correlated with self-reported declines in mental and physical health and life satisfaction, and the increase in loneliness. One of the issues was the way times on devices and social media was taking away from in-person activities and socializing. That again comes back and answers the historical need for in-person physical connection. In addition, further research found that it wasn't always how much time youth were spending, but how they were using that. And you heard some of that in the last group of presentations. When social media is substituted for face-to-face interactions, the added nonverbal cues that we get that lead to a sense of empathy and belonging can be lost. Similarly, the curated photos and ideal lives shown on social media create a negative comparison to one's present life and sense of self. Enter the pandemic. First thing we know is, or you may not know, is Zoom, this actual platform actually creates some of that comparison and curating, because who looks at themselves on a mirror when they're sitting around with a group of friends chatting? Although social isolation is not always synonymous with loneliness, Early indications in the COVID-19 context indicate that more than 1/3 of adolescents report high levels of loneliness, and almost half of 18 to 24-year-olds are lonely during lockdown, which was an increase from 2018. Now let's turn to college campuses. With college campuses closed and remote learning, there was a lost college experience, a grief, creating social isolation and loneliness for many. Lost were these peer-to-peer relationships in class, in the dorm, in the dining hall, this instantaneous sort of spontaneous connection, not just reserved for college students, but also middle schools, high schools, elementary schools, all learning. What is the problem with online? Relationships actually tend to be less intimate and less authentic. Healthy social bonds are harder through social media. 100 online friends does not equate to the power of 4 or 5 close friends. In-person relationships, sharing experiences in the real world. Some of our innovator solutions address the power of friendships, whether younger children who suffer from the same face-to-face engagement to making friends. Interestingly enough, the issue of first-year students feeling lonely began before the pandemic. Research shows that making friends on college campus has become more difficult, whether from the power of online connections, joining clubs that require an application process, and the myriad of choices open to students actually decentralizes that common bonding. Once again, enter the pandemic. The only way to connect was online. We're getting there, right? We're moving forward, but think about in the very early stages. While there can be positive connections in general, these online relationships are more indirect, non-intimate social exchanges, especially when they are not linked to an existing in-person friendship that has this balance of real life socializing. On top of that, the lure of social media and Netflix binges, from the addictive nature of the algorithms of the attention economy, that time online takes away from hobbies and offline opportunities. Hiking, snowshoeing, frisbee, dancing, improv, painting, to name a few. While I focused here on college communities during the pandemic, we'll hear from one team who has actually targeted solutions for pre and younger teens. And one of the questions is, if we start early to address these issues, will we see improvements later on? So as you can, in a moment, you're going to listen to the videos of 5 teams. Their problem to solve was Gen Z is growing up with the exponential growth in use of social media and the increase in loneliness and social isolation. There are unique pain points for Gen Z of living through the pandemic, and the impact of social media and social distancing has increased social isolation and loneliness. How might we design or use technology to address these issues? And now we'll turn it over to Julie to share the screen.
Hi, my name is Snehita Sana, and I'm the CEO of the college community. Just to give a little bit of background, anxiety is the 3rd largest mental health care problem in the world. 60% of college students have experienced overwhelming anxiety, and this figure has definitely increased since the pandemic and remote learning have started. 1/3 of Americans have displayed signs of anxiety, depression, or both since the pandemic have begun, and the long-term psychological effects of this can last well over a decade. Now, causes of stress of this for college students can include high and stressful workload, worsening of mental health conditions, financial and social life issues, among many other things. Now, we can group the problems faced by college students during remote learning into 4 main categories. 1, increased social anxiety due to isolation. 2, lacking of support systems and community disconnect. 3, the inability to ask for help. And 4, the lack of awareness of resources. Now, our solution to this is the College Community app, which is an app made by students for students to study, collaborate, and socialize better during and after remote learning. We have created 4 features to address the 4 problems we have just identified. Number 1 is the Buddies feature. Now with this feature, students simply have to fill out a personality form, and they are then matched to fellow students who are also looking for new friends and who have similar personality profiles. Number 2 is the events feature. Now it's much harder for student organizations to advertise events and for students to find groups that fit their interests. With this app, both organizations and students can advertise events and find individuals who have similar interests. Number 3 is the collaboration feature. Going from high school to college is a very difficult transition. Moreover, asking for help in general is extremely hard, but doing it over a 150-person Zoom call can seem almost impossible. Now with this app, students simply add their classes to a list and they can then create and join study groups within seconds. Now number 4 is the resources feature. Universities have a lot of resources, but they aren't organized and easy for students to find. And when someone is in the middle of a crisis, they aren't going to be spending too long looking for resources to help them. So it's imperative that these resources are easily identifiable. For this feature, we've done extensive research and found and organized these resources for students to access in easy-to-read categories. In the past 2 months, we've gotten over 450 downloads and overwhelmingly positive reviews. We are currently planning on releasing version 2 in time for the start of the upcoming spring semester. Now, the college community charges colleges who pay a fee calculated by student population and student activities fees following a 6-month trial. No student will be getting charged by our app. And now I'd like to introduce you to our leadership team. My name is Snehita Sana, and I'm the CEO of the college community. I'm a senior at Carnegie Mellon University, and I've been on the executive board of the Undergraduate Entrepreneurship Association at Carnegie Mellon for 2 years, so I've had extensive experience building new products and working with startups.
Hi, I'm Nina Zanarelli. I'm attending a master's degree in service design at Polytechnic of Milan in Italy. I spent the spring semester at Carnegie Mellon University as an exchange student, and then when the pandemic hit, I decided to start this project to help CMU students cope better during this difficult time.
Hi, my name is Sarah Yunameneni, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer at the college community. I'm a sophomore studying computer science at Carnegie Mellon, and I'm excited to translate my experience in mobile development from hackathons and side projects to the college community.
And that's the college community. Thank you all so much for listening, and we're excited to be working with you all soon.
Hi, we're CrowdSurf, and we're really excited to be here with you today. CrowdSurf is a social activity planning platform for Gen Z. We're a team of 4 undergraduate women who are committed to creating healthier, more genuine interactions than current social media offers. CrowdSurf is a fast-paced social planning platform that creates meaningful social experiences for Gen Z and young adults.
Today, much of social connectivity amongst U.S. college students, for example, first impressions of classmates or constant awareness of what others are doing, operates in a virtual space. Social media attempts to bring people online, but instead of fostering meaningful interactions, these platforms promote indirect, non-intimate exchanges and have led to increased feelings of loneliness, depression, and anxiety. After carrying out a survey with 100 college students to identify behavioral patterns with Instagram use, we found that over 60% of them have deleted the app at some point. Of those who deleted the app, 98% re-downloaded, revealing they exhibit behavioral patterns of addiction. Even more alarming is the very strong correlation between growth in smartphone usage and growth in rates of depression and suicide.
Social media is antisocial and unsustainable. And there is an unmet need. Each week, the typical college student assigns time and value to a few main areas: academics, professional development, extracurriculars, and socializing with friends. Most of these pursuits already have platforms to enable them, but there is still no platform that helps students leave their dorms to socialize successfully. CrowdSurf reroutes social media to enable socializing in person. The CrowdSurf experience streamlines planning, offers financial benefits to both users as students as well as businesses, and parallels the cadence of planning social get-togethers with friends. Now, let's walk through the process of getting sushi with friends through CrowdSurf.
After creating a close network of no more than 60 friends on CrowdSurf, I would create the activity and share it with all of my friends or any subgroup. This activity would populate my friends' CrowdSurf feeds. From their feeds, my friends can click sushi dinner to see additional details. From the Discover page, they can search for an activity sponsored by a local business to post onto their feeds. If they're interested in going to sushi dinner, they can like it to save for later or commit if they will definitely attend. If a friend of mine commits or likes sushi dinner, it will be added to the upcoming page of their app. Once everyone has committed, I get to see which of my friends are coming, and we're put into a dynamic group chat. Here we can plan the event and get to know one another if people aren't friends yet. While we're at dinner together, CrowdSurf encourages full immersion in the activity by only displaying the relevant activity chat and camera for capturing content. After the activity, the content becomes part of a shared archive between participants and participants only. Past memories live on a user's private profile. Thank you for listening. We hope you join the wave.
Meet Corey. She is a new student trying to discover which clubs to join and which events to attend. She becomes frustrated with the lack of centralized information because it makes it difficult for her to explore new opportunities and engage with new communities. With these obstacles, it makes it hard for Corey to feel welcome at school. She also has a hard time meeting new friends. And worst of all, she doesn't even know where to start. So how can Eventually help to improve Corey's experience? Eventually provides a 3-step approach to community development: explore, engage, and empower. The first step is that users are able to explore. Corey can now discover events that interest her, and she can do it easily due to Eventually's interactive and easy-to-use explore features. The next step is to engage users. Now that Corey is able to explore events on campus, she can also begin to engage with new and diverse communities. Eventually is able to encourage participation through a feed screen that keeps Corey updated on the groups that she has joined, and even a calendar where she can see which events that she can attend. Lastly, it is vital that Eventually is able to empower users. With the confidence that Corey has gained from being able to effectively engage with communities, she's now able to pay it forward. As she gives back to her community by actively participating, she is able to earn badges and reach milestones as she takes the initiative to inspire change. Eventually is for community members who are searching for ways to explore, engage, and be empowered within their communities. While Eventually is an event management app, it has a purpose, and that purpose is to increase engagement within our communities, whether it's a college campus or a local boys and girls club. Next, we want people to engage with more diverse communities, meaning we want to help people get outside of their bubble and gain new experiences. And lastly, we want to do this all ethically. We will never sell our users' information as a source of revenue because Eventually's goal is to have a positive impact on the lives of our users. Now, our team. To make Eventually work, we gathered some of the brightest and most dedicated people we know. This team is filled with innovators who want to ethically lead change, and these are the best people to do it because we have all been Corey at one point, and we have the unique ability to empathize with her. People are better together, and communities are stronger with everyone doing their part. Here at Eventually, we want to get everyone engaged to do our part to create meaningful change in our world.
Hey everybody, my name is Renee Yassine. I'm the founder of Friendover, and I want you to think about something for 1 second. If you have a kid, if you've ever been a kid, or if you have ever loved a kid, you know how much energy that young children can have. Besides using that energy to exhaust their parents and older sisters like me, young kids funnel that energy into something that we talk about a lot at Friendover, which is physically active play. Physically active play is absolutely essential for the social, emotional, cognitive, and physical well-being of young children, especially those under the age of 12. But unfortunately, due to the trend where kids are spending more and more time online, a trend that's been exacerbated and accelerated by this recent pandemic, kids are spending less and less time staying physically active and collaboratively engaged with their peers in play. That's why we created Friendover, the virtual social space designed just for young kids. With Friendover, you can combine features of traditional video conferencing with a bundle of motion interactive, physically engaging games that can be played from a browser. So the way that Friendover might work is, let's say you and I are on a Friendover call. We've got our video in the corner, so we can stay face-to-face engaged even when we have to be distant for whatever reason. And we calibrate the motion of just our hand to our desktop webcam. No remotes, no console, just our hand. Once it's calibrated, I can swing my hand to swing a tennis racket, and we can play a nice back and forth game of virtual tennis using just the motion of our hand and our desktop webcam while we're on a video call. So it's super fun for all ages, not just for young kids. The games defy age, and that factors into our business model. So we've got a simple subscription-based pricing model with 2 plans. The first plan will get you the first 3 games that we've prototyped, which is tennis, boxing, and follow the leader. And the second plan, which is $8.99 a month, about twice as much as the first plan, will get you 7+ games that are all motion interactive and all no console required. Our team is just as unique as our solution. So obviously, when I had the idea for Friendover, I was thinking about my little brother Danny and how difficult it was for him to socially engage during the pandemic over online platforms. I thought we could do it better, so I brought Danny onto my team, and we brainstormed together. Danny is 9 years old. And I brought on my friend Chris Hunt, who is our CTO, and he's involved in a lot of the software creation. We brought on a team that is now total 11 people of animators, programmers, designers, pre-law, research, to ensure that our games are as fun and exciting as we'd love them to be.
Hello, my name is Shaina Salvaraju.
Hi, my name is Nicole Jen.
Hi, my name is Srijani Chalgundla.
And we're RainCheck, a unique hobby subscription box service that seeks to reduce social isolation, promote work-life balance, and improve mental health amongst college students by providing them with various platforms to communicate within the RainCheck community.
Through a monthly subscription box service, we provide our subscribers with supplies needed to start a new hobby each month right at their doorstep. The box will include all the materials needed for the hobby, along with an entry to the hour-long instructional session on the basics of that particular hobby. The hobby of the month, along with the contents of the box, will be carefully chosen through thorough research done to make sure that they fit our criteria of promoting socialization and improving mental health.
Our main focus for the RainCheck box was to alleviate social isolation, so in addition to the box, we provide our subscribers with a community of people on a similar journey of self-discovery to help combat social isolation. We are different from our competitors because we connect our subscribers with each other over many shared social media platforms. For our primary communication platform, we will be using Discord for our subscribers to engage with one another and make meaningful connections, while YouTube will be used as an anonymous platform to host our live instructional sessions.
The reason we chose to do this is because as college students, we are busy pursuing academic success and career opportunities. However, through our initiative, we hope to help students improve their work-life balance by helping them develop hobbies. We will also be providing smaller action items in a bi-weekly newsletter for them to do throughout the month in order to develop habits that promote work-life balance skills. These include things like time management, mindfulness, retrospection minutes, and more.
In addition to the Discord, the YouTube live sessions, and the newsletter, we also have a blog for our subscribers to submit posts about their experiences and their journey with the new hobby that they have built using our RainCheck box. We hope that through this shared platform, other subscribers will encourage each other to continue this journey and also gain motivation. Additionally, we'll be using Instagram for our subscribers to interact and provide feedback to the RainCheck leadership team directly. Through the promotion of social engagement and work-life balance, we hope to combat social isolation and improve mental health and overall wellness of our subscribers in the long term.
In a success-oriented world such as ours, where we prioritize the future and forget the present, our goal is to help our subscribers not miss out on their passions while developing healthier habits.
And the point is, you no longer have to put things off because we'll make it easy and bring it right to you. No more rain checks. Let's build a healthier and more balanced lifestyle today, not tomorrow.
Wow, right? Let's just sit for a minute and absorb the brilliance here and the connection to Gen Z's actual pain points. So we're going to pin 9 of you. Maybe we can rotate around. We have 17 for this roundtable discussion, and I'm gonna lead this and hopefully have you piggyback on each other's initiatives, because I think you probably all saw there are some common threads running through here. But in thinking about Gen Z, from the youth from Friendover, all the way over to the college community, is the issue of friendships. And so I would love to start off, and I can jump in here with the college community to talk about how you're really delving into the issue of friendship, and in thinking about that, how you're connecting to some of these other solutions. Because I'll repeat what I said earlier, the goal really here as we move into the leadership lab is we collaboratively, right, continue this movement almost as this rolling ball as we pick up more and more and more youth. So does someone want to jump in with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Oh no, I was asking how
okay.
the community is really tackling the issue of friendship, and also what you're seeing with friendship in this time right now.
Yeah, so for us, what we found was that we're really targeting our app towards freshmen and like people who are really starting college, because it's a very big transition going from high school to college. It's like you're living alone, you have a lot of pressure on you. It's a completely different class, like studying system, and you're just learning a lot of new things. And in that time, you really need a lot of support. And the way that I met a lot of my friends was through my classes, through my dorm, through just like events on campus. So what we're doing is just trying to get people connected and try to form organic connections. So through the events feature, you meet a lot of people with similar interests. If I'm really interested in like the Harry Potter Quidditch club, which we do have at CMU, I can join that club. And then I can meet people who have the same interest as me, and I can really start making conversation that way. And if you really want to, if you need help in a class, you can do it through collaboration. You can join study groups. You can bond through that class. If that's a really annoying class, you bond through that way too. But then there's also the other one where you can just meet people through people who are just similar to you. If you want to meet people who are freshmen and who live in the same dorm and who have like a similar personality, we can also make that connection for you as well. So there's lots of different options for lots of different people to meet new friends.
Awesome. So does someone from one of the other teams want to piggyback on that? So how about you, CrowdSurf? I'll help you.
Just a reminder, panelists, if you could automatically unmute yourself so you can just jump right in, because there's a delay when you have to unmute. Thanks, guys.
So CrowdSurf, how do you what's happening in the college community connect to CrowdSurf, and what are you seeing with friendships?
Yeah, I think what we were seeing with friendships even before COVID started was that because everything was so much more technology focused, there was sort of less of the impetus to go out and see people in person. And now, obviously, that's been hugely exacerbated in that a lot of the people who were once living on campuses in dorms of 1,000 people are all across the country and the world. And so we see CrowdSurf, at least right now, as something that can start to bring people together during COVID. And then once people are back together in person, I think we've all kind of gone through a sort of reflective moment and realizing that social interaction is so, so critical to, feeling good about ourselves and our lives. And so CrowdSurf kind of creates the channel to say, we know that you want to see people in person, probably beyond the 3 people in your closest group chat, and paves the way for that to happen a lot more cohesively and for people to feel comfortable jumping in on each other's plans, even if they're not already super, super close friends.
So yeah, and so CrowdSurf, you're focusing in on, using the online for offline relationships and connections. So Raincheck, explain how, your hobby focus moves into friendships.
So basically,
we found, well, our idea didn't necessarily come from like, I'll explain where it came from. But so basically, the three of us are like seniors or have already graduated, and when COVID hit, we kind of realized that we missed out on a lot of experiences, and a lot of these things are things that we put off to our senior year because we're like, we don't have time now, so we'll just do it later. We'll have that time to like be free and more social later, and it ended up being a really big mistake because we never got to do those things. So basically, Rain Check is this idea where we'll give you hobbies, and because you're trying out new activities, we found some research supporting that when you find something you're interested in, you sort of seek out communities with similar interests. So in addition to giving you the social engagement platform with our subscription box, we're also sort of giving you the next steps to sort of connect with the community as well. So if you're interested in painting per se, we'll give you that community as well.
Great. So somebody want to piggyback on that, how that connects maybe to your university and what you're seeing with other students? I'd love to be quiet and have you guys really talk to each other and collaborate here.
Susan, can you hear me?
Yep.
So first of all, I just want to say, thank you all for allowing us to be here today. I'm really honored to be here and hear all the great ideas we all have about tackling these big problems. I'm Kiko, I'm from the Eventually team. And for us, we view when people come into new communities that it's sometimes hard to feel included when you don't find people who think the same way or share the same ideals as you, or have similar interests. So we're trying to allow that opportunity for individuals once they come into a new community to find that stable foundation in their lives, whether it's people who share the same interests or just have the same background, come from the same area. But beyond that initial exploration, we want to push them and empower them to be engaged in these communities that they find, and then empower them to go beyond that and make new connections to new people. And with those like diverse connections we have together, we believe the community is stronger because of that. And so that's our mission. And that's the problem that we're trying to tackle in this way.
And how do others link to this? So, it's an interesting theme that we see running through college campuses. And then I'm going to come to Friendover because it didn't start on college campuses, right? But the expansiveness, as you said, the decentralization of events, as well as the time on social media is another way to make friends. So how does that impact the time offline? But I would love to hear from Friendover how you see, what you're starting here with youth, younger students to help later on.
I guess I'll go ahead if no one else from the team wants to jump in. But basically, we found that younger kids, they're spending a lot of time on these social media sites that aren't really built for them. All of us were young adults and teenagers and adults as well, and we can sit on a Zoom call and have a conversation like we are right now, free-flowing, no kind of guiding playtime activity. But for younger kids, that's not really something that psychologically they're ready to do yet. And so with Friendover, the way that we anticipate helping them, begin to use technology in more productive ways as they get older is by starting them with something like Friendover that's actually made for their psychological needs. We're not throwing them into the cold water, into the world of the internet where it's, unmonitored, where there's a lot of unsafe content, where they're encouraged to just sit and type at their keyboards all day. We want them to know, like, you're a kid, you're allowed to jump up and play when you're online. You're allowed to dance with your friends when you're online. And it doesn't have to be sort of a solo experience for you. And we're hoping, here's hoping that other technologies will take note as well of the physically interactive aspect of young children's play and how it can be used online to help them be online in productive ways as they get older.
So that's great. So we've heard from each team, and we will ask you at the end, like, what do you need? What do you need from each other? What do you need from the audience? But I'm curious, if you see threads running through your 5 initiatives, and how you might be able to piggyback on each other's.
So basically what I see is a lot of connection, a lot of relationship building, just because I think it's so important in our day and age. We get into a rut of just using social media, trying to connect with people, but I personally don't feel that it's any meaningful relationship unless I already know them or have ever met them in person. Then we have something to connect over, something to bond over. Otherwise, I feel like it's just us wasting time trying to find connection that's probably not there, unless you have some type of a plan to meet up with them and build a relationship with them, which is kind of hard in our day and age right now. So what we want to do is focus people's efforts into bettering themselves with the time that they have, because I know a lot of people have taken up working out, taking care of themselves in this time, and also a lot of people are looking, maybe they don't know yet what to do with their time, so we want to provide them with these hobbies that we have we're going to personally curate to help with mental health issues, such as like painting, which we have a lot of research because we're all interested in psychology as well. So we have a lot of research backing our like art therapy initiatives that we're trying to get through our hobbies. So we want people to have a productive, something productive to do with their time right now, as well as we think that once they build those habits, they will definitely stay with us because it is so fun, and it also helps with their day-to-day stresses that they might feel when they have to enter back into, no longer distance learning or distance, workplace, working from home type of a situation, because that probably also has some stress when you have to, assimilate back into regular life when you've been away from it for like so long. So we just think that it's such a great opportunity to provide people with, something productive to do with their time, which I feel like a lot of the other teams are also trying to accomplish, especially like, and also I love the different audiences that we have going, like little kids versus like freshmen and like juniors and senior, and all the different like audiences we're trying to tackle. So I think this is such a great, like, I love all the projects and ideas going around. So it's making my brain like kind of churn a little bit. So.
And just to add on to that really quickly, as she mentioned, like, we really do want to improve work-life balance. I think all of you have probably felt it, where you become so academic oriented or career oriented that there may have been something you wanted to try out during your college experience. Like for me personally, I enrolled in a pottery club, and I went once and never went back. And like, one of the things I'm really upset about is that, it's something that I really liked doing before coming to college, and I sort of just let it go. And I feel like because of my like being oriented towards like academic success, I sort of forgot the other things that I sort of enjoy. And one of our goals is to sort of give college students the ability to sort of like try out those hobbies and things that they might enjoy but never like find the time to invest into, because starting a new hobby is obviously very expensive as well. So it just, and then sort of like leaving with the skills to know how to manage that hobby in their pursuit of like work success as well, if that makes sense.
A lot of you guys have solutions like focused on encouraging college students to schedule like in-person events together, which I really, really love. And I guess to Susan's question of how can we see each other helping one another out and piggybacking on each other, one of the features in Friendover is we have parent scheduling for these younger kids. So they can schedule through a parent portal their kids' playdates and also in-person playdates with people in their neighborhood community. So we also would like to integrate that same kind of scheduling mechanism that you guys are doing on college campuses, but extend it even to, parent networks, school communities. Homeschool communities are a big market for us because except for, small religious homeschool communities, often kids that are homeschooled don't really have a huge network of friends that they can always call on. So feel free to send me a message at any time if you guys want to work with us on that, because that's a really big value of ours as well. Yeah.
So this is fantastic. You've just seen, these innovators, this is just the launch, just the showcase, they're moving over into our leadership lab, along with many other youth. So we invite other youth to join our leadership lab to learn from these experts, like our entrepreneur, Bob Wigley. So I wanted to give everybody time. We have 2 questions from the audience that I will weave in. And you can see, but really important that this community hears from each of you, what do you need? So what do you need from this community of mentors, of adults, of other youth? And we'll start, why don't I start with the college community, because we also had a question about your cost structure.
So just to start off, with the cost structure. So what we're thinking about now, right now, we're just at Carnegie Mellon and we're expanding to other schools because we just started developing this app in July. What we're going to do is do a 6-month trial for every college. And in that time, our team will be able to talk to more students at that school, do a little more research into what they need, because every college campus is different. So we'll be able to make that app a little bit more fit for every college that's going to use this. And then after that, we're going to be calculating our cost for each school depending on their student population and their student activities fee. So it's different for every school. It's very unique. And then for what we need, this LookUp lab is, we're really, really excited to be a part of this because you guys are a lot of you are college students, and we would love to get all of your feedback on this because really, you guys will be kind of the ones to be using this. So your feedback would be super helpful. But in other terms, we would really need help with marketing and getting some more connections, because cold emailing is very hard. Cold calling, getting people to take you seriously can be a kind of an issue. So just if anyone has any experience with marketing or being able to connect us with any college's administration, that'd be super helpful.
Great, terrific. All right, Friendover, there's a question, a little bit more detail about how the motion works, and then you can see that in the chat. And then also, what do you need?
Absolutely. Well, Matt, thank you so much for the question. I'm happy to answer on behalf of Friendover, since I'm involved in kind of the prototyping and the software end of it. So it's really unique and innovative technology using modern computer vision software. So with image processing, if you move your hand across the screen and you calculate the time between the 2 instances, frame by frame, you'll be able to detect some sort of motion, which can register as an event in your computer. So I've been kind of working with this OpenCV computer vision software to build really basic prototypes, and it can kind of go into what we need, I guess, right now, which is a C++ Unity developer. Someone who can really flesh out these games using what I built with these prototypes, but make these really fleshed out engaging games that kids can talk and play with each other. And with the video conferencing features, we're looking at including pretty much all of them. So you can screen share, you can do audio. It's basically everything that would be on a Zoom call, but also with these game features.
Great. And I want to tell you, we will record the chat as well as this, so that, comments that have come in and email addresses and suggestions, we'll hang on to those too. How about you, CrowdSurf? What do you need?
Hey guys. So right now we would like some help with app development, because we're looking to build out a beta app for our pilot program that we're planning on having at Stanford's campus. And then we would also like some marketing help, and to be more specific about that, just help with creating partnerships with local businesses, and then also to help launch various campus programs as we expand.
Awesome. Great. And eventually, how can we help you?
So right now, we would say our two biggest needs on the team would be business strategists and technical developers. But in addition to that, we are looking to get anyone who is really passionate about our values and mission and to join the team. So if you like find interest in the product and want to build something that's better for a community, contact us because I'm sure we can find a place for you. But those are the two biggest needs would be business strategy and technical development.
This is a great point that you bring up, right? With these teams need others, right? So if there's a team, like if you're a C++ developer, right? I mean, take that into heart, come on board, join the team, join our leadership lab. Okay, Raincheck, how about you? What do you need? Actually, there was a question for Raincheck, but I sort of lost it. So whoever put that in, if you have a specific question, but Raincheck, let's hear from you. What do you need?
So we sort of have like our concept done, and we're all like, as Jenny said, we're all like psych oriented. So a lot of our focus is on getting the data, making sure we're doing something impactful. I think our main issue is understanding how the finances of it work. We have a good like goal and long-term plan, but without that financial knowledge, we're having trouble sort of making a precise plan, if that makes sense. We also want to develop a website, so we need some help with that. And I think the third thing is we all have like social media experience, but we're looking into making it more branded, if that makes sense. So anyone who could give us advice on that would be really helpful.
So you all should know, in the Leadership Lab, we're going to have an expert speak every other week. And a lot of these issues will come out. I mean, I'm just going to call out Benno Chapman. He did a phenomenal job last year with our group in outlining how to make that business plan. So really exciting that you guys are clear on what you need. And I think from other youth and our adult allies, our mentors, our speakers, we're going to be able to do this. Well, this was fantastic, you guys. So excited to work with all of you, all 45 of you, but really zeroing in on social isolation and loneliness, because it's not an easy one to tackle. And now we will take another 5-minute break. And let's just say top of the hour, because I know we have people here from Australia, you know, all the way to Europe and the UK. So we will see you back here at the top of your hour, whatever that hour may be. Thanks, guys. And again, this is coming straight from our impact partnership with the Social Dilemma. Julia Hopek, impact producer, Exposure Labs, and the Social Dilemma, is here to lead us off into round 3. Hi, Julia. Julia is a filmmaker and campaign strategist with over a decade of storytelling experience in journalism and the nonprofit sector. She spent her career finding, pitching, writing, and producing stories that connect audiences to the issues that impact their lives. Her videos have been screened for White House officials and exhibited at presidential libraries. And LookUp is thrilled to introduce you, Julia, as well as our impact partnership with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. We're thrilled to be partnering with you. I've told you guys this many times, but working with you and working with all the young people here on what is sometimes such a dark issue is actually like the best and brightest part of my day always. So yeah, I've been asked here today to kick off this panel in part by explaining the problem as we see it over at the Social Dilemma and Exposure Labs. So I thought the easiest way of doing that to start is just by sharing my screen and playing the trailer to get us in the right frame of mind. And then I'll kick it off from there. So hold on just one moment and I will go ahead and do that. Oh, you know what, Julie, I think you need to give me access to share my screen.
Yes.
And if it's a problem, I can.
No, go ahead. You're all set now.
All right. Great.
When you go to Google and type in climate change is, you're going to see different results depending on where you live and the particular things that Google knows about your interests. That's not by accident, that's a design technique. What I want people to know is that everything they're doing online is being watched, is being tracked. Every single action you take is carefully monitored and recorded. A lot of people think Google's just a search box and Facebook's just a place to see what my friends are doing. What they don't realize is there's entire teams of engineers whose job is to use your psychology against you. I was the co-inventor of the Facebook like button. I was the president of Pinterest, Google, Twitter, Instagram. There were meaningful changes happening around the world because of these platforms. I think we were naive about the flip side of that coin. We get rewarded by hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. A whole generation is more anxious, more depressed.
I always felt like fundamentally it was a force for good. I don't know if I feel that way anymore.
Facebook discovered that they were able to affect real world behavior and emotions without ever triggering the user's awareness. They are completely clueless.
Fake news spreads 6 times faster than true news. We're being bombarded with rumors.
If everyone's entitled to their own facts, there's really no need for people to come together. In fact, there's really no need for people to interact.
We have less control over who we are and what we really believe.
If you want to control the population of your country, there has never been a tool as effective as Facebook.
We built these things and we have a responsibility to change it. The intention could be, how do we make the world better? If technology creates mass chaos, loneliness, more polarization, more election hacking, more inability to focus on the real issues, we're toast. This is checkmate on humanity.
All right, thank you for indulging me. I do find that the trailer does a better job than I can of explaining the problem, but to sum it up the way that we see it, and I think that the Social Dilemma does very well, is that fundamentally the problem with big tech is that it's built around incentives that are at odds with our interests of humanity. It's threatening our mental well-being, it's threatening our democracy, and it's eroding our shared sense of truth. And so for that, we really see it as a problem beneath all other problems. Because if we can't agree on what's true, or that there is such a thing as truth, then we can't tackle any of the big issues of our time. And so, when a business model is built to keep us on the platforms at all costs, the prices are very freedom of thought. So we know that these platforms are designed to addict us, to use our psychology against us, and to keep us on the platform scrolling longer. but we also know it's not good for us. You know, as Tristan says in the film, we weren't evolved to have social approval from 10,000 people dosed to us on a minute-by-minute basis. We know that there's a correlation between increased time spent on these platforms and increased risk factors for suicide. So these addictive behaviors are not serving us. And we also know that the algorithms of these platforms serve as content that we want to see, but not necessarily the content that we need to see. They can confirm our biases or push us further into filter bubbles and away from each other. We also know that fake news spreads 6 times faster than real news. And these algorithms can push us further into conspiracy theories and dangerous content, taking us into rabbit holes that have real world consequences. And we saw the likes of this on January 6th in our Capitol. So my boss, Jeff Orlowski, and the film director, said in an op-ed recently about the Capitol attacks and social media's role. While we think these platforms are connecting us to the world, they're actually separating us from reality. Each of us lives and learns inside a personalized filter bubble that changes and radicalizes how we function in society. So those events were horrifying for Americans, for our democracy, and on a personal level, just for our team to see the very problems and warnings we put in the film play out in real life. And propagated by misinformation, conspiracy theories, and hate speech that spawned on the platforms that should be the people's platforms. And that led to violence in the people's house. So while I'm a little bit biased, obviously, I think the social dilemma perfectly encapsulates the problem we're trying to solve here today. But it also predicts a future that doesn't have to be. What if these platforms were designed to connect us rather than control us? What if they were designed to inspire us to action rather than compel us to watch endless cat videos or, creep on our friends, see what they're up to? What if these platforms brought us together, taught us how to find common ground in policy to legislate, rather than push us further into our political filter bubbles? What if these platforms were designed to uphold our data rights, respect our privacy, rather than surveil us constantly? This is the exact future that the young people on this panel are envisioning. And so I'm delighted to turn it back over to Julie to play the pitch videos and showcase the ideas of many of the young people who want to change big tech and ultimately change the world.
Okay, 3rd time's the charm, hang tight.
My name is Alma, and I'm the CEO of Assemble. At a high level, Assemble is a social network for activists. It's safe, it's beautifully designed, and it's easy for people to get involved to fight for the things that they care about.
Fake news spreads 6 times faster on Twitter than factual information. Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm Assemble's COO. With the reignition of the Black Lives Matter movement aligning with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the revolution took place on our phones. However, we were forced to rely on platforms that weren't designed for our needs. Over the summer, activists' data was sold to police enforcement and used maliciously. Misinformation from biased sources left us wondering what we can trust. Online activism has lasted us this far, but apps like Instagram and Twitter were not meant to host a sustained social revolution. Among the plethora of social media platforms, none provide a safe, trustworthy, and centralized space for social activism.
Hi, I'm Grant, the CTO of Assemble. So activists will choose Assemble because of its unique approach to dealing with misinformation and hate speech. Assemble, first and foremost, is for activists, both current and aspiring, who want a safe and verified place to find nearby protests, fundraisers, petitions, and informational resources, free of advertisements and mechanisms of validation. The intention behind our MVP is to encourage the spread of reliable information by and for our users.
Hi, I'm James and I'm Assemble's CFO. As we've developed this idea, we've realized that social networks are not inherently evil. Their unethical business practices are. The advertising business model encourages social platforms to track and sell user attention, something no one should have the power to control. Assemble's differentiating factor and our unique value proposition is our intention. Our nonprofit status will protect our decision-making process from being corrupted by motivations to maximize profit. Assemble will do what no other social network has dared to do: take a bold stand on ethics.
Hi, I'm Anastasia, Assemble's Chief Marketing Officer and National Field Organizer. An estimated 23 million people attended anti-police brutality protests this summer, and their problems, like lack of access to reliable information, opinion echo chambers, and lack of data privacy, have created a wide and unmet market need.
So, as you can see, our team is diverse, experienced, and incredibly driven. But beyond our team dynamics and our individual aptitudes, what truly sets us apart is that we get the needs of our users. As Gen Z activists, we understand the dangers of this new digital world, as well as the undeniable power of social networks. In this position of understanding, we have the power to make something better. Thank you for your time and attention.
On Our Terms is a multimedia campaign from young people to young people designed to increase digital literacy amongst the most vulnerable group to voracious employment of surveillance capitalism. Then, as a mobilized coalition of activated and young voices, we will demand legislative action from elected officials to ensure private companies are being held accountable to protect user data privacy on our terms.
The two perpetrators I'm sure you've heard of are Facebook and Google. These two have been at the center of controversy after controversy, always having to do with some sort of misuse of their power. Facebook single-handedly compromised the truthful democracy of our nation by strategically designing their user interface to bypass any human awareness.
The Social Dilemma documentary has definitely sparked this conversation, but for sustainable solutions to the social dilemma, the call to action and turning off our notifications is simply not enough. It has been a continuous pattern to place blame on the user, the individual, to somehow solve the most pressing issues in the world. We must have education, guidance, and a curriculum from top down that will help defend ourselves from completely losing our agency to the data farming companies that hold their users to an agenda.
Again, this campaign is from young people to young people. And taking into consideration that the age to start the first social media account is progressively aging downwards, there must be guidance to understand the mindless click of an accept button to social media's terms of service initiate.
This campaign will address the issue with surveillance capitalism in 3 steps. First, we propose what we call digital breadcrumbs, whether this be in satirical videos or consumable and, most importantly, postable infographics. The purpose of these breadcrumbs will be to incite shock value and even victimization of the young users, so they understand there is a larger problem on their plates. Much like how young social media activists say F Trump, we must lay a mutual understanding to F Facebook.
From here, we lead them to our larger platform, perhaps a beautifully designed website that contains toolkits on safe social media usage. On this platform, you will find our brand, who we are, what we stand for. We are a third-party source outside of the social media companies. Donation-based toolkits may include how to utilize the data privacy tools that social media companies have already laid out for their users, or what the word surveillance capitalism means and how it can affect different individuals.
Simply educating users is not enough. Therefore, we need to garner a group of activated young voices that will Greta Thunberg our way into Congress and elected officials to take action, to pay attention.
Much like the GDPR in the EU incorporated into their tech life, we as the United States must enact a set of standards and regulations that private companies must live by. We must morally revive tech usage on our terms.
Team Legislate, let your voice be heard. Good evening, my name is Michael Del Sesto and I am with Team Legislate. Meet my co-founder Madison Gothberg along with our project lead and coding wizard Thomas Clark. In the next 3 minutes, we will discuss social media's polarizing effects on politics and disengaging effects on our generation. After giving background on these issues, we will introduce our product, the Team Legislate web app.
Hi, my name is Madison Gothberg. Civic deserts and online echo chambers prevent young people from maximizing their potential with regards to productivity. Firstly, the civic desert theory predicts that our youth are becoming less and less civically inclined. A recent study found only 7% of 15 to 25-year-olds participated in a significant number of community service activities in the year prior, and that they scored significantly lower on a questionnaire regarding civic policies. Secondly, our generation faces echo chambers online. Algorithms polarize users by showing them only the information that they are predicted to agree with.
Hi, everyone. My name is Thomas Clark, and I'm the lead developer. Team Legislate's three-pronged approach will connect students and legislators. As seen on the slide, our first feature is Legislate. Students will use our research guide and bill formatting tool to draft legislation. Second, our Advocate feature will connect students with real-world problems that need legislative solutions. Finally, the Research feature will allow students to join their school's chapters to form due diligence research teams that research the topic behind a bill.
We researched the competitive landscape and found no other products provide a platform like Legislate. Legislate is unique with its student and citizen-created legislation and a bill formatting tool. Additionally, Legislate will focus on bill writing competitions with scholarships to foster legislative skill development. Currently, no platform exists in which students can draft legislation that will reach the Congress floor and lead to actual change.
My name is Michael, and we are Team Legislate. I have studied business and economics at both Brown University and the Tuck School of Business.
I'm Madison, Merrimack College pre-law graduate with a degree in political science and criminology. Recently, I interned at the Lawrence Court Service Center in Massachusetts and at Tom Ford Law, a workers' compensation firm in Rhode Island.
I will graduate in 2022 with a BE in computer engineering. I've also worked as a data analyst intern at Response Software last winter and will intern at Arista Networks this summer.
Team Legislate is fortunate enough to have many friends and advisors, including legal help from Pierce Atwood, Tom Ford Law, and the Lawrence Court Service Center. We hope that one day all students will join our dreams in giving a voice to our communities. Legislative offices around the nation can look to our students for input before making decisions and submitting legislation. In this way, anyone can make a change. So join us and legislate. Let your voice be heard.
Back to you, Julia. And if the teams from Assemble on our terms and Legislate can turn on your video and join us, join Julia, that'd be great.
Julie, should I pin my video or not?
I have you spotlighted, and I will try to spotlight as many as I can. We can only do 9.
Okay.
That's 5. There you go. Actually, for everybody watching, if you put it on speaker view, it actually works well because when somebody starts to speak, they'll pop up nice and big on your screen. Pinned or not.
Great. All right. Well, I'm so excited to kick off this conversation with you guys. I'm so thrilled by the ideas that you presented and just really excited for how we can take these platforms and use them for social good. So thank you all for being here today and sticking around for this panel. So one common theme I noticed in all of your notes was just generally that like young people aren't being heard or being served by these platforms. So why is it important to put control back into the hands of your generation? And Assemble, I'll start with you if someone on your team wants to jump in.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Julia, and it's great to see you again. And thank you for everyone for your time and attention. We are really excited about the idea of creating a nonprofit social media platform because of something that was very well put in the Social Dilemma documentary, that it's not necessarily that social media is an evil concept, but rather that a business model that sells human attention is going to create incredibly dangerous problems in society. And not only is it that our users' voices are not necessarily being heard on current platforms, but that really our needs are just not being addressed, specifically with digital activism. Since platforms like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter are all motivated by profit, and like the goal is to maximize profit, there are, you know, algorithms and components of their company that not only are designed to polarize and divide us, but also are, I would say, shifting the ethical landscape online. If you go to Instagram, it's very likely to see a post that might have Nazi symbols, racist rhetoric, incredibly misogynistic language. And this is not necessarily something that is being monitored closely, and it's essentially creating a new precedent where these things are acceptable on an online landscape. And since we're all spending essentially 7, 8 hours on our phone. Like, online reality is our reality. And so changing those precedents online, allowing white supremacy and racism and misogyny to become normalized in everyday conversation is evidently creating a direct parallel in our real world. So this is not just about giving the power back to the users, but it's also about taking back a narrative that has been skewed solely for the purpose of maximizing profit.
Absolutely. I love that, taking back a narrative. And that kind of makes me think of on our terms. Obviously, the whole idea is it's by us, for us, young people. And it seems like a common theme in your proposal is that, you know, the burden shouldn't be placed on the quote unquote users to fix these problems. So tell me why it's important that as part of your project, you guys want to take back the narrative and flip the script.
Hi, first of all, nice to meet you, and it's great talking to you guys again, and nice to meet everyone for the first time. But basically, we've seen that this is a common problem, not just amongst social media usage, but even with climate change. We know that, you know, companies have created kind of recycling and just all these different tactics that kind of make us feel that we're responsible for flipping this, I guess, corporate driven agenda around. And we just know that that's not possible just simply on the facts that we're relying on, you know, turning off our notifications or using social media less or trying to find safe like usage, because ultimately if these companies are pushing an agenda to spread this everywhere, then us alone as young people can't kind of flip this whole agenda around. So because of that, we just wanted to kind of make a movement kind of based on Greta Thunberg's climate change like advocacy, so that we as young people can kind of just take this on in a way that will be tangible, because from top down they will have to create the change for us to be able to follow as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hannah. So for Team Legislate, I'm curious, and we can move on to another question if this isn't related, but I'm wondering if, you know, seeing the events on the Capitol, if that changed anything for you and in your project, or if it just underscores even more about why it's important. Do you have any reflections on that?
Yeah, I think it definitely underscores the idea that we need to form relationships and discussions with our representatives in government. So the whole idea behind Team Legislate is to create a platform, an educational and academic platform for students to connect to these leaders in their societies, and also to connect with NGOs, nonprofits, and other community organizations. So we think by starting those conversations and having students actually go through the actions of writing drafts of legislations, they'll be more in tune to what's going on in the political landscape, and they can better sort of use their democratic rights in society.
Absolutely. And Mike, if you don't mind, I might just do a follow-up question. Why do you think it's so important that students and young people drive this when we're talking about crafting legislation?
Definitely. I think young people, as we've seen in 2020, really do want to make a change. They've made that very apparent. But right now, there's no platform to really connect them to those legislators, almost to the adults in the room. And I think that's a great thing that LookUp's doing. It's really focusing on the idea young people can make a change right alongside those adults and alongside those professionals in the workplace. So Team Legislate is just another way to bring students into that conversation.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. And another thing I kind of noticed across all the proposals is the idea of, you know, using some of the same tools that we can admit maybe by the business model or by the incentives are problematic, and using them for good, and kind of just like, you know, changing the narrative. And so I'm just wondering, you know, maybe Alma, if you want to speak to why that's so important, or is that a driving force in your project?
It definitely is. I want to pass it over to Chloe. I think that she has some really great insight on this.
Hi, could you repeat the question for me one more time? Sorry, my sound briefly cut out.
No, that's all right. It just seemed amongst all the proposals and the idea of, digital activism, we're sort of using these tools that we're admitting in some ways are problematic, either by the incentives or the business model. And so we're using them for good. We're using them for pro-social behavior. And so why is that important, or how is that, a tenet of what your team is trying to do?
Yeah, piggybacking kind of what Alma said earlier, we kind of realized throughout the development of our idea, and in large part from watching The Social Dilemma, that it isn't social media and social networks themselves that are inherently evil. There's a lot of good that can come from connecting people and from the tools that we've developed as a society. And I think we are really wanted to focus on kind of harnessing all of that good power. And after seeing all of the incredible things that have come out of social media activism in the past 6 months, all of the progress we made fighting police brutality, in developing and promoting new policy, and really huge steps societally, I think we were all really inspired to create a tool that is truly meant for activism, not, one that replaces Instagram, where we're kind of using it as this temporary solution that just isn't solving our problems. Instagram wasn't built for a generation of activists who are trying to hold a sustained social movement. It was built to trap teenagers in this validation-based echo chamber. And I think we really just wanted to take all of the best tools we saw from all of these social networks and optimize them and build our own, connected into one kind of, centralized space for all of this goodness and all of this positive energy and social movement.
Absolutely. I love that, Chloe. And actually, while I have Team Assemble, something that kind of came to mind is, it seemed like a big part of what you guys are doing too is to make sure that there's a safe space. I mean, there's also, space where people can gather, but it's safe where they can, organize without being surveilled. And so I wonder if you've thought at all, and it's just fresh in my mind because of the Capitol, but what happens if bad actors take, control of these platforms? Is that a concern or thought? And if you haven't gotten there yet, that's fine too.
It definitely is a concern or thought. Also, if anyone else, Anastasia or Grant, anyone wants to jump on. But I think that's one of the biggest things we're hoping to kind of work through with LookUp Live and The Social Dilemma throughout this mentorship process is we're kind of trying to tackle a lot of these huge ethical questions, about regulating free speech versus hate speech and not tolerating any violent intentions on our platform. And I think we're in a position of not shying away from that and not making excuses as we've seen previous social medias and social networks do. But I think it's still something that we're going to need a lot of support from and a lot of community input on.
Yeah, I'd like to just hop on that as well and just piggyback off of what Chloe said. Since our app is designed to do such good and have this power to help people practice activism and stuff, and it's so centralized for that, with great power comes great responsibility, and we want to make sure that we're not held accountable for horrible things like what happened with the Capitol, because we know that was kind of organized on Twitter. We need to make sure that we're not doing that. And again, like Chloe said, that's where you guys can really help us out, is dealing with how do we monitor that? How do we make sure that doesn't happen? So yeah, we're hoping for your support there.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely connect you to, and obviously we're partnering very closely with Center for Humane Technology, and they have a lot of principles there. And it's really fascinating. There's groups that are just going back and forth on what to do. So you can be part of that debate. So for the honor terms team, I was very interested. You talked about this idea of an asymmetry of knowledge, and this being sort of the biggest issue of inequality right now. And so I wonder if you could just define what that concept is and tell me why your project, what you're seeking to do to help combat that.
Felix, I think you're on mute.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to take this question, but basically we know that inequality and poverty are just more not more pandemic than ever, but during the pandemic, we've seen it amplified more than ever. But really, we kind of talk about addressing the digital divide and allowing for people to have more access to technology and Wi-Fi to complete homework or whatever. But we thought it was really important when we're giving this technology and we're kind of providing this need for the actual like materials, but with that like education on how to utilize and what kind of harms or whatever can come along the way, because ultimately your socioeconomic status, where you live and what school you go to, like who your parents are, have a lot to do with what kind of culture capital you might have in your family or amongst your friends. And so some of us have more than others because of just like the education or resources we're being provided. But we wanted to make sure that as everybody's kind of increasingly becoming more connected through technology now more than ever during the pandemic, because we're connected on Zoom and everything, to really understand the implications that come with using these platforms, and then having these technologies kind of adapt to a GDPR style of regulation that is in place by the EU for those countries to follow. But I know we have it in California. It's called like the CCPR or some CCPA. But again, Facebook already violated that in the summer of 2020. So we just wanted to make sure like that was in place so that this asymmetry can kind of be shortened.
Absolutely. It was a very profound, I love the terminology, and I thought it was a really profound thought. So I think you guys are headed on the right path. For Team Legislate, it seems like part of your model is this chapter model to organize students on campus. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about that, why that's important, or if you have more details on, where and how you're starting it, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so a lot of schools and universities have like mock Congress, Model UN, or a club similar to that. So we hope to either integrate Team Legislate into those existing clubs or bring this new idea of bill writing to different universities and schools. And we hope to not only teach people and educate them about the legal system and about how to write legislation, but also be creating legislation that is helping their greater community. So helping the community that their school is located in and really applying their work that they create to society. So it won't only be this sort of academic exercise anymore. It will be you're actually going and thinking of ideas that can change society. And I think that's extremely powerful. And I think that young people are in an amazing sort of position to lead that change.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. I think we only have a couple minutes before we move into the open Q&A, so I might just do a few round robins. And I think one is just what inspired you or what fueled you to come up with this idea? And Assemble, I'll start with you.
I can take this. When I had the idea for Assemble, I was in the midst of posting resources on my Instagram story and organizing protests over the summer. And there was one specific protest, which was protesting a private police force, which was acquired by Facebook to police their general area in like the Menlo Park area. And there was a protesting this new police force that was being organized on Facebook. And it was just the irony of the fact that we were protesting an organization while still using this organization. And it made me kind of stop and think about how much information monopoly these corporations have, and the fact that if they wanted to, they could just cut out any events that were infringing on, Facebook's existence or that was challenging their existence. At the end of the day, these are private companies that are motivated by profit, and they will do whatever it takes for them to succeed and maximize the amount of money they can extort from their users. So at the end of the day, this is something that's needed, and not only for activism, but we hope that this is kind of the beginning of a new wave of social networks that are nonprofit, that are there solely to connect people. And all of these issues that we've been talking about, isolation, addiction, and separateness, at the end of the day, all comes back to this idea that corporations are solely motivated by profit and that they are going to do really whatever it takes in order to reach that singular goal. And after 15, 20 years of us using these platforms, it's just time to make something better. Like, that's really the bottom line, at least for me.
I love it. I love the optimism. And it is indeed time to make something better. And I love that it's so true, the concept of this information monopoly. It's a really good way of putting it. So for either Hannah or Felix, what inspired you to come up with this idea?
Yeah, I can take it.
If you want to fiddle with that, I can move to legislate. Yeah, why don't I move to legislate and maybe you guys.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Are we good? Okay, cool. All right, what really inspired me to get involved in this, obviously the social dilemma was a huge inspiration and catalyst in this whole thing, because Hannah and I, we attend this kind of like collaborative space for youth called Global Prep Academy, where we all had a group viewing of the social dilemma. And from that, we were kind of like brainstorming certain things that like would kind of help with the issue. And we came to the issue with social media's terms of service and terms of service, terms and conditions. And we were just kind of going over our experiences with it and how none of us have ever really read a single word of any of the terms and conditions. And after further research, we realized that it's all written in like completely the unlegible legalese, where you have to really get like a lawyer to understand what you're giving up when you press the agree button, where you just scroll all the way down and press that. So like from that kind of was like the again catalyst to like open this like whole new world of these issues that we never even thought about, like how we're all being like secretly controlled and our behavior is being monitored. So yeah, that was just kind of our experience with that and how we kind of came to want to solve this like pressing issue.
It is a pressing issue, and I'm excited. I'm already wheels are spinning about all the funny videos you could do, and using satire, as I know you're hoping to do, to explain that. So yeah, just to cap it off with Team Legislate on what inspired you to come up with this awesome tool.
Yeah, so in high school, I did this amazing program through the American Legion. The American Legion is an organization that supports our veterans, and this program was called Boys and Girls Nation. And that program takes 4 student senators from each state to Washington, D.C. And then you work alongside your state senators and other student senators to draft legislation. So for me, that was an amazing opportunity. And I wanted to make that opportunity more accessible to a larger audience. And we also hope to reach out to the American Legion themselves and see if they want to use Team Legislate, or if some of their student senators want to put their bills that they've created at these seminars onto product. And we're actually really excited to start our first bill writing competition. It started yesterday. It's going to go till February 22nd. I'll throw that information out again, but basically students, high school and collegiate, can write bills to sort of make their communities better. And we'll be giving away some Amazon cards as incentives. So definitely share that with your colleges, with your high schools. And if you have any questions, I'll also put an email there.
That's really, really cool. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, congratulations. And we'll be keeping tabs.
I just wanted to add something about like what made me so interested. When Michael pitched me this idea, I was so excited because I spent this summer like just signing countless petitions. And as a pre-law student, I was like, I just feel like I could actually do something. Like I have the knowledge to like write legislation myself, and like as much as the petitions help bring awareness to the issues, like I feel like our like platform will help people actually draft solutions. So
I love it. I love that you can see that you can do that. And I'm thinking I want to tap your team to talk about tech reform legislation. So there's actually a lot of synergies here. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are doing that. Before we move on to the open Q&A, I'll do one more round robin. I think some of you mentioned this already, but if there's anything you haven't mentioned, starting with Team Assemble, what do you want the LookUp Live community or your mentors to help you with?
Grant or James, do you guys maybe want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take this. So you asked what sort of resources we could use from the LookUp Live team. Yeah, so we have a couple of things that we could actually use help with. First off, since we are a nonprofit company, because we don't want to contribute to the problematic attention economy, we would love some advice from someone with experience creating viable business models, sort of on how to best balance our very limited sources of revenue with the cost of implementing all the features that we want to implement. So this is something that we'd love to talk to any mentors about. Anyone with experience creating these business models would be great. Another thing we wanted to have was a discussion about ethics. So there are a lot of ethical dilemmas with setting up our own social network, including how to stray away from the validation space stuff, but also how to not contribute to the polarization that social media causes. So we want our platform to be open to all, but at the same time, limit the spread of misinformation and hate speech on our platform. And so we have a couple ideas about that, including using natural language processing to automatically flag content that is either misleading or contains hate speech and things that incite violence, things like that. So we'd love to talk to people about how to best manage that tension, I guess, and still promote a free and welcoming space for everybody who wants to support the causes that they care about.
Great, thank you. And if anyone in the audience can help with that, I know we can help a little as well. Please, put your email in the chat. And great. So same thing for On Our Terms. What would you like most to get out of the LookUp Live community and your mentors?
So basically, definitely we are policy and advocacy based. And though I've kind of had experience as well as some other people on our team that aren't here today, organizing on the ground protests and just different things for down the ballot candidates, because we've done work with them here. But we kind of wanted to see how this would play out on the digital landscape. And so in order to organize that sort of campaign, we were kind of wondering what the logistics would look like, and also what kind of tangible legislation Team Legislate is talking about that we can implement. And so I guess being connected to people or organizations that kind of have the same goal in mind, kind of like how Mr. Wigley was talking about today. That would be really great. And also this is going to be kind of based in satirical videos, and we kind of want to work within the system of these social media platforms, because we know if we kind of create something separately that we don't know how much that would be effective. So we wanted to work within it. So we want to capture people's attention through humor and satire. And so producing videos, we've kind of never done that before, but we kind of wanted to gain some insight on how to kind of get that going.
Absolutely. And that's something we can certainly help you with.
And if I could just add on to that a little bit. Yeah, so half of our team, we're still in high school, so we don't really have the necessary hard skills that we would need to really see this campaign come to fruition and get as much backing as we possibly can. So we have recruited some people that are in part of our team. We strategically recruited them to kind of make up for our lack of hard skills that we would need, but there's still a huge gap, and we're hoping that through this kind of leadership lab, we could kind of get the necessary skills that we need to see this thing happen. So.
Great. I'll move on to some of the questions here. So we have one from Lexi for Team Assemble. How are you looping in the current activists on the ground and youth leaders who are currently needing support? How are you listening to the people and advocating for and listening to their voices, i.e. BIPOC voices, LGBTQIA, and intersectional?
That's a great question. I can take that. So essentially right now we are in the process of needs finding interviewing, which basically means interviewing current activists, people interested in activism, people who have no experience and may one day use our app, to basically ask them what are their deep motivations behind using social media. What do they hope to get out of this app? We really want to just understand how we can market this to the actual users instead of just putting it out there and like hoping they could benefit from it, which basically leads me to the form I just dropped in the chat. If you have any cause that you're passionate about, or if you'd just like to learn more and think that you could give us valuable input or connect us to some nonprofit that you're passionate about, we would really like to take your input into consideration as we build the app so we can tailor it to your needs.
Yeah, and like in addition to that, we are really trying to be incredibly intentional about how we are designing this app for our users, and like specifically highlighting the voices of marginalized communities and like people of color that have been personally targeted on these like evil platforms, essentially, is something that's like incredibly important to our development and like design process. And since we want to create this kind of like direct correspondence between users and nonprofits that they might be interested in working with, we are also conducting needs finding interviews with diverse nonprofits and charity organizations that have a lot more experience in this kind of realm in general. So it's definitely something that is like at the top of our priority list. And like Anastasia said, if you or anyone you know would have like important insight for this, we are incredibly enthusiastic about that. And please fill out our form, plugging it again.
Great, thank you. And there are a couple questions here for Team Legislate. I may cherry pick a bit. Do you have any stats from early user testing, and have you engaged with local government about the app, and kind of how does it eventually get through the channels to having these things accepted?
Definitely, yeah. So we don't have any user testing yet. That released yesterday, which we're really excited about. But over winter break, we did do some customer discovery, and we had interviews with different lawyers and government workers and district representatives. And we learned that currently, basically, if students want to push forward legislation, they sort of have to know someone already in that area, or they have to know a representative already. And then they have to send sort of their draft and research to that legislator. So our platform will create sort of an environment where people can collaborate and become leaders and do this together. And it will collect all this data, we'll collect the bill itself and some due diligence research, all created by young student leaders, and we'll send that to legislators. And it will sort of streamline this process and make this easy to use mechanism. People can educate themselves with our tools and videos about legislation, and then really hop into the whole experience for themselves.
That's great, Michael. And while I have you, I might tag on with David's question here. Is there value in helping people understand what goes into these privacy policies and other legal documents?
Definitely, yeah. Start drafting. We do want to sort of teach students sort of what those bills look like, how to format them. So we will have education tools, text for people to read, but also videos interactively that people can interact with to sort of walk them through the whole process of how does a bill law, what does a law look like, why do legislators make certain decisions, and who are they representing, and sort of what's going through their heads. And we hope to work with themselves to make these videos, and also educators at different universities.
So exciting. I've seen here, there's a question for me. Are you seeing any success on digital ethics governance in the private sector following the social dilemma? Have any of the big techs been willing to come to the negotiation table yet? That is a great question. I think not officially. I mean, I think we felt like we already saw it as a success when the Facebook actually put out a public response to the film and everything that we got wrong. And so we definitely had gotten under their skin, and that, that showed that this little bit of pressure was maybe helping. For sure, what we're finding is that just in some kind of, private conversations with some of our partners and tech employees, the employees within the company are putting a lot of pressure on their execs. And that's been happening for a while. But what's really cool is that, like, everything we're doing here on the outside, like the film, all the activism that you all are doing, just press hits that are talking about these issues, that just continues to put pressure on the tech employees. It makes it less, they're ashamed. I mean, a lot of them are ashamed to work at some of these companies, and they're putting pressure on their leaders for reform. And I think we saw at the Capitol, I mean, there were, we can discuss whether deplatforming is right or not, but these platforms did take steps. And so they're feeling the pressure, and they certainly haven't reached out to us. I don't think they would. would, but I do think change is on the horizon. And so we are kind of hopeful about that.
Awesome. This is so great. You guys, you know, it's so exciting. Julia is going to be one of our speakers in the Leadership Lab. So we'll be able to continue this conversation with everyone. So Julia, thank you so much. So phenomenal. You know, you guys, we're part of a mission that is in so many countries. I don't know, Julia, it was just in the first month that 40 million households watched. So it was fascinating to see how many are. And again, you know, we believe in you. So what I would like to do now is introduce Diana Angelini. And Diana joined us, the LookUp, in November 2019, as she brought LookUp to BlackRock's Women's Initiative Network, and where we spoke. And the wild thing for you to all know that this wasn't just BlackRock. She invited Snapchat, Facebook, Salesforce. So, you know, she's really been a mover and a shaker here with us at LookUp, and she's a brand new board member. So we are so thrilled to have her. You may have seen Diana if you watched our panel, The Future is Female, at our Y4Y Summit. So let me just give you a heads up on Diana, and then you can take it away. Diana Angelini recently joined ladderlife.com as the Director of Business Development after a successful career at BlackRock's Aladdin Wealth Technology team, where she was responsible for driving go-to markets and engagements to help financial institutions unlock technology use through innovative marketing and shared expertise. At BlackRock, she was also the head of the Win Community Connect, where she connected BlackRock to external companies and organizations to discuss diversity, equity, inclusion, and philanthropic initiatives, the Women's Initiative Network. Prior to joining BlackRock, Diana worked at JP Morgan Private Bank in New York and Putnam Investments in Boston. She graduated from Boston College Career School of Management with a dual degree in finance and marketing, and was president of Women in Business. So she is a phenomenal resource for all of you. And Diana, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Susan, thank you so much for that introduction. It's great to be here. My name is Diana Angelini, as Susan mentioned. I'm currently Director of Business Development at Ladder, which is a new startup and a new risk that I recently took in my career after a successful corporate career for 5 years at BlackRock and coast to coast in San Francisco and New York City. I am so grateful to be here today. Personally, I am a recovering technology addict at 27 years old. So everything I heard today rings true for me professionally, personally, in my relationships with friends, family, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of it and to be able to hear all 45 of you and all 12 teams today. What I would love to do is just share some of my key takeaways. I went old school today and took 2 pages of notes. Didn't want to be distracted on my computer taking notes or on my phone. But really, I mean, I'm just so impressed with everyone's presentations today. We heard from some incredible speakers and teams and their research, ideas, and evolution of turning all of your ideas. And I love the question that all the speakers asked of, you know, what motivated you to do this, and turning that into something tangible, into a pitch, into a presentation, and all of the countless hours and sacrifices that went into making these presentations and working on your companies that hopefully are going to take off someday. And if I had unlimited resources, I would invest in every single one of your companies. I think they were all absolutely remarkable. And I love all that you were doing to turn these ideas into reality, to change the world for the better. So some quick takeaways, you know, from each of the different panels. I mean, I love that this was the first time that all 45 of you had met, and seeing that interaction of piggybacking off of each other and that conversation, I thought that was incredible. But we started today hearing from Alexa and her talking about her superpower, which was, you know, connecting people and calling to action and that really reminded me, if I don't know how many of you are familiar with Emma Watson and her speech at the He for She Summit a few years back. And her famous quote was, "If not me, then who? If not now, then when?" And that I thought was just such a powerful message to open the sessions today, that we are the ones in this movement together from the ground up. And you guys are the ones actually making a difference, and this call to action and doing all of the things that you are doing to build out these companies and spread the word and take the initiatives. And I was just so impressed by that. Bob Wigley was absolutely remarkable. You know, some of his quotes talking about technology as weapons of mass destruction, or your prosthetic limbs that are just attached to us, and sharing some really sad statistics on the Gen Z being on their phones for over 7 hours a day. I mean, my screen time, I've been trying to get under 5, but I mean, more than 7, again, that's more than sleeping, and is impacting all these social anxieties, mental and physical health. And I love what he said. He said, it's not that we have insufficient time, it's that we have an overload of everything else. And I just thought that was so, you know, so insightful, as I beat myself up some days where I'm like, how did I not get to that? And there's not enough hours in a day. And it's really just my own misuse of resources. But I love that he shared that it's not all about self-regulation, that it's not just, you know, I need to meditate more or do more yoga to stay off my phone. It's that truly, you know, companies and institutions need to take a stand. So I thought that was really, really powerful. The pitch videos in the first session on digital overload, outdoors yours, James, that was awesome. COVID increasing the need for private outdoor spaces. And I think encouraging people to meet up in private spaces. As an Airbnb user myself, I would definitely use something like that. Mine, I thought was awesome. Self-discovery through social media, behaviors, and patterns. I mean, I would love to learn more about myself through this platform and using this data to understand my behaviors and habits, and what websites I'm using, and how often that I'm checking my screen time. And I love what you said about recording your own mood. I thought that was so cool, and just tracking every day and trying to assign certain feelings to different behaviors. No social media November. I love that idea, and the 3 levels of participation. And unpluggers, I mean, the challenges, no social Saturdays, active versus passive apps, and deleting one app altogether. I actually did that today on the session. I was like, you know what? I don't use Snapchat that much. I'm just going to delete it altogether and promote more meaningful interaction on my other apps. I thought that was so awesome. Susan, I thought your intro on the social isolation and loneliness panel it hit home for so many of us. It didn't start with the pandemic. I mean, these statistics were coming up all in the recent years on how to solve these pain points, and Gen Z having really, really specific needs that we aren't able to solve, and Gen Z has to solve it themselves. So the college community is so professional, loved your presentation. CrowdSurf, having meaningful social experiences. And yeah, I commented that I was someone that deleted Instagram and then re-downloaded Instagram. But I think that is so powerful to be able to meet up with different people in your area and see and encourage it on the app to get into something physical, but using your phone to do so. Eventually, physical engaging games that you can play from a browser, super cool, like the Wii of our computers. And I love that idea of getting physical. Friend solver, success-oriented world where we're focusing on the future and not on our present. I mean, I thought that was such a powerful quote. And I loved everything in this panel of just taking everything from the phones to the in-person connections. I think that is such a powerful message from that panel, and how much that we rely on relationships and friendships to keep us going. And even in the digital age, there's still ways to cultivate that. So really well done to everyone in that category also. And finally, just wrapping up the session with the positive uses of technology, digital activism, and advocacy. Julia, you were so incredible. Predicting a future that doesn't have to be. Wow. I think that is like a huge takeaway from that session, that what we're seeing in these trends does not have to continue. And all of you are the true advocates and activists behind that. And encouraging companies to inspire us to action. Assemble, you know, a revolution that took place on our phones. I was, you know, remember being a part of it, and these crowdsourced revolutions. That was so powerful this summer, and I love that idea. Legislate, using your legal experience to connect students to legislations. I think that's a huge gap that is not being filled right now. On our terms, I can't even tell you how many times I've clicked on terms and conditions without actually knowing what I was clicking on. And I thought that was so incredible. You know, I think all of the needs and the calls to action for these nonprofit social media platforms to really make a difference in the world. And all of you are doing incredible work on these ethical dilemmas. So in closing, before I turn it over to Susan, again, I just want to genuinely thank all of the advocates, teams, adult advocates, and allies on the sessions today for your time, but not only your time today. I mean, as an entrepreneur myself, and I know these are all of your side hustles. Like, these are none of your like full-time jobs. You are students, your brothers, sisters, friends, daughters and sons, and all the sacrifices that you have had to make to devote time to all of these different causes. If only I was friends with each and every one of you in high school or college, I would have loved to be. I mean, all of you are making a difference in the world for yourselves and for your next generation. And please stick with it no matter what. I mean, I think this is just such a remarkable organization to be a part of. Thank you, Julie and Susan, for hosting this summit. I think this is such an amazing connectivity point to bring everybody together and have these conversations, set the awareness, and then let's talk about the action and what we're doing going forward. I think that is so incredible. Everybody here is making the world a better place. I'm going to close where I started. I love that quote. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? I think now is the perfect time to start having these conversations. And thank you for letting me wrap up today's session, because I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So with that, I will turn it over to Julie and Susan for the closing comments.
Great, thank you, Diana. And I know we're, you know, surprisingly just 2 minutes running over, but I did want to thank everybody for coming. Before you hop off though, this is we're all about action, and LookUp is all about, you know, we're just this platform and network of to bring all of you together so that you can find each other and work together. So we created, and I've been putting it in the chat all day long, but I want to just share with you quickly, and I mean quickly, so bear with me here. This concept of the, hang on, I got to get to the right screen. Sorry, there you go. Okay, so this concept of the LookUp Action Network. So we keep seeing emails flying around and people saying they want to help, and this is exactly where you're going to go. So when you join the LookUp Action Network, there's so many things that you can do as being part of. You can discover all these different members. You can learn about yourselves. You can have email in there if you want to reach out to somebody. You can learn about different events that are coming up. You can learn about different topics and jump into discussion groups. The one that's really cool that we're putting out here is this one called Groups. If you have, I know all of you had these ideas about, you know, possibly getting involved in being you know, testing out some of these apps for these innovators. This is the place to do it, because they're going to be posting opportunities to get involved in the test lab, things like that. So I'm not going to spend too much, actually, I'm not going to spend any more time on that, except to say it's such a cool platform. It's called Mighty Networks. We're also going to be hosting different workshops on there. So if you want to get involved or teach a workshop, or like the one group that wanted to discuss, you know, how might we create ethical business models, put it up on the lab and let's have a conversation. You know, we can get together and host an event and have that question where you guys can brainstorm and help each other out. And you don't just have to be the social innovators. You can be an interested, passionate person that jumps on and helps out. The other thing I do want to just say is Lexi King-Shaw, who's our amazing community manager, and Rebecca Denny and Sam Lageson, their interns, have been working really hard behind the scenes to put all of the innovators' information about their organizations and their projects up on a new website, which we had a glitch. So it's now on our old website. It's a link to our new website, but you can go see all their work there, get access to their fact sheets, their pitch videos, summary. It's just a really cool program. So go to lookup.live and you can find that there, just play around. And we also created this form if you want to get involved, just fill it out. I'll put it in the chat right now. Over to Susan. Thank you, everyone. I'm so energized by all of you and appreciate all of our attendees for coming and listening, and for the panelists as well. And thanks to Susan for this amazing opportunity.
So thank you, Julie. So just, you know, one of the antitheses to digital addiction, digital overload, the harms of social media is mindfulness and gratitude. Did you know that if you keep a gratitude journal and write everything you're grateful for, you actually change the neural pathways in your brain and become more optimistic? So today, I have so much gratitude. First to my mom, Ann Reynolds, who believed in this mission, listened to me year after year and after year, and jumped in. And it really is through her outreach that we've made this incredible group of donors to support us. So thanks, Mom. The next thing is Diana is our new board member, but Nelson McMillan, Sean Smith, and Laura Worcester, thank you so much for, you know, moving through this. Anyone who saw last year's Innovator Showcase, it was great. This was, oh my gosh, to have grown this quickly in less than a year, because the last one was April 2020. We are thrilled, thrilled about today. And then Julie mentioned our interns, but let me turn to Julie O'Brien. So this is advice to you who have teams. The best thing you can do, or one of the best things you can do, is find people that have complementary skills and talents. Julie and I have really different talents, and that's why, in my opinion, this works. She's the detail person. She put this together. You know, she makes things run. So with that, I close today. Invite you all, please, please, please stay involved. There's so many ways to stay involved. We recorded this, so you will get the recording. We kept the chat because there was so much interaction and emails going. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we'll see you soon.